And so while waiting for the others, um, siguro attendance check muna tayo, no? You, on our chat box, bigyan niyo po kami ng mga um, traditions, cultures, or anything related sa history na you are and opo. Yeah, that's correct. No? In Southeast Asian countries, the Philippines has maintained this kind of practice of culture of saying po and opo as a way of showing respect not only to elders but to those people with authority. Sige po, bayanihan, correct, di ba? Um, para sa mga nakaantabay sa news right now, we are anticipating yung pagdating ni Nika. Alright? And we continue praying for Luzon. Kasi as of 11 a.m., nagtaas na po ng signal number 2 and signal number 1 ang pag-asa over the greater Luzon area. So sa mga kapwa po namin from Luzon, we pray that they are all safe, alert and dry during this week. Ayan, ano pa? Magandang hapon, sige po. Bayanihan, correct. Mga festivals natin, napakakulay, napakasayang mga pagdiriwang, mga festivals sa Pilipino. Filipinos being family-oriented. Tama, di ba? We are very much close to our family. We value, we love them, we protect them. Yan. Bayanihan. Yung mga common talaga na binibigyan. Pagkain. Tama, di ba? Anong paboritong pagkain ng mga taga Luzon? Can I see that? While we are preparing, ayan, so share na si Sir ng screen. Ayan. Sir April, please allow me to open my camera as well so that our participants could see the host. There you go. Ayan. Good afternoon. Sige lang po. Pagmamano is also one beautiful practice here in the Philippines. Tama po. Ayan. Hospitality, foods, bayanihan. Okay, fiestas, pagmamano. Ayan, so very active. I can see, no? A lot of you here have renamed their Zoom names SLC. So buhay na buhay po ang mga taga St. Louis College of La Union. Ayan, magandang hapon. I am also seeing responses coming from the Don Mariano Marcos Memorial State University, Mid La Union Campus. Magandang hapon po sa inyo. Itag. Ayan, Itag from, if I'm not mistaken, dito sa CAR. Ano po? Paria, sir. Show my rice, isa sa mga Philippinized na pagkain na talagang swak na swak sa panlasang Pinoy. Ayan, igadu, wag paiso. There you go, thank you so much. So, magandang hapon once again. Welcome to our afternoon session for our webinar. So while waiting for our speaker, may we once again remind our participants to observe proper webinar etiquette. And this includes, number 1, being in a conducive and comfortable place in your room, in your place right now, so that you could focus, because the learnings, the discussions provided by our speakers are very important, and these are very relevant in today's situation, particularly that fake news, misleading information, and even historical distortion are rampant in today's setting. No, so maigi na talagang nakafocus tayo, nakikinig po tayo, because we can get a lot of insights, a lot of information relevant not only to our study in the courses related to Philippine history, contemporary world, but we can also apply it in our daily lives. Sabi ko kanina, naglipa na po ang mga fake, false information. At tayo, bilang participants right now, this is our greatest weapon to combat this one. So welcome once again to our webinar entitled Unearthing a Glorious Past, a Rediscovery of the Philippine National Historical and Cultural Treasures. This is brought to you by the Association of Social Science Educators for Traditions and Treasures, or ASET of the Philippines Incorporated, in partnership with the Social Science Department of St. Louis College La Union and the Kusina ng Talinhaga. So earlier, we were able to hear important topics from 2 esteemed speakers. We have Mr. Christopher Mines, who delivered the topic use of primary sources. So always bumalik sa mga primaryang batis o mga primaryang sanggunian. And there, we were able to learn about primary sources not only being written sources, pwede rin po tayong sumangguni sa mga primary sources that are not written, mga artifacts po natin, and the like. And then mas na-deepen yung understanding and our appreciation regarding the use of historical sources during the talk of Mr. Manapat. Ayan po. So maraming salamat. Welcome once again. Greetings from St. Louis College, 1945. Well, nagbigay na ng history ang ating mga students. Ayan, very good. Okay. All right. Mhm. Okay, no worries po. Ayan. Okay, so let's just wait for our speaker as they are about to enter our Zoom already. Ayan, nakakatuwa na makita po ang ating mga participants that are very active, no? This gives us actually
Recording in
schools,
progress.
state universities and colleges. We would like to acknowledge you guys. So can you please drop or type in the name of your schools in our chat box, please. So we have here. Oh, we also have participants from David Moises Memorial High School, that EdCapis Division. Magandang araw po and welcome to our webinar. Thank you for attending and participating. Ayan. We also have friends and folks from the Aklan State University. Magandang araw po and welcome to our webinar. Ayan. Aklan State University. Sige po. Welcome. Ayan. We also have Carlos Hilado State University. May we know kung anong province po ang Carlos Hilado State University? Thank you po for attending. Ayan. Mm-hmm. Ayan, Carlos Hilado. Alihis Campus. Am I saying it right? Alihis Campus. O yun. We also have participants from the University of Northern Philippines, Bigan City, Ilocos Sur. Naimbag Amalim Kanyayo Apo. Welcome to our webinar. Ayan. We also have ayan, from Negros Occidental daw po. Ayan. Negros Occidental. So napakapalad po natin na makadaupang palad kahit sa virtual setup lamang po ang mga kaibigan nating or kapwa po nating very much interested, very much invested in these kinds of academic discourse, academic endeavors. Yan. Mm-hmm. Sige po, very active no kahit alauna. Talagang maingay, siksik at liglig po, energetic po ang ating mga participants. Ayan. Para po sa mga kararating lamang po, pinapaalahanan po namin kayo to observe proper webinar etiquette. Ayan po. We must maintain respect, okay? Not only to our speakers and facilitators, but with each other as well. So we maybe use the chat box for stating your schools, asking questions later on relevant to our discussion. Sige, review siguro muna tayo. Quick quiz muna habang inaantay po natin ang speaker po natin. G po ba tayo? Sige po. Regarding sa discussions kanina ni Mr. Minus about primary sources, okay? Magbigay nga po kayo ng mga halimbawa ng mga sanggunian na makukonsider pong primary sources. Tingin sa chat box. Ayan, so meron tayong top-notcher dito, diary or diaries, very good. Diary, birth certificate, that could be, no? Kaya nga, when you are following the Senate inquiry and House inquiry in aid of legislation regarding Alice Guo cases, they always go back to these kinds of references, birth certificates, because these are considered primary sources that would prove later on na Filipino siya at pinanganak sa Pilipinas. Ayan. Okay, ano pa po? Interviews, lalo na yung mga eyewitnesses po natin. Take note ha, pagka po tayo nag-conduct ng interview, ituturing pong primary source ang mga eyewitnesses po natin. Sila po yung mismong nakakita, nakarinig, nakaranas at nakaramdam ng mga pangyayari pong ito. Pwede rin po ang mga liham, yan, mga exchanges of letters and correspondences. Yan. Kaya nga sabi ni Sir Menes kanina, di ba, love letters can also be a primary source. Ito po ay primaryang sanggunian na nagpapatunay ng, siyempre, pagsinta, pag-irog, pagmamahal ng isang tao sa kanyang sinusulatan. Diary, halos lahat diary. Okay. Letters as well. Sige po. Ayan. Okay. Ngayon, since alam na po natin kung ano-ano ang mga primaryang batis o mga primaryang sanggunian, ang tanong, okay, ano po ang kahalagahan? What is the importance of referring to or the use of primary sources? Sige nga, patingnan nga po natin kung may mga na-pick up po tayo kanina. Nakakatuwa no na kahit mga junior high school students po natin, they are very much engaged and they are very much aware about the use and the importance of primary sources. So tama, okay? Because these are much accurate and raw, di ba? Mas maganda kasi pag raw, di ba? Kasi makikita mo yung pagiging candid niya, yung pagiging real po niya, right? And this is also to avoid misinformation, right? More accurate, provides main source, correct? It is also a proof, no? Pero don't be confused ha. Secondary sources can also be pieces of evidence or proof. Only that, mas maigi na we base our research, our understanding about historical context and through the use of primary sources. Ayan, expressing one's belief, more accurate. Tama, ayan. So, primary source is an authentic source. Tama po yan, Rofik. Okay? It doesn't suffer from the telephone effect. They give, wait lang, medyo gumagalaw na kasi, bilis na. And diverse perspective, these are raw materials. Originality-wise, tama, provides direct evidence. Okay. Alright. Ito naman, next question tayo. Saan po kaya tayo pwedeng makakuha or makakita ng mga primary sources? Sige nga po. Patingin sa library, possible museum, tama, Jario, di ba? Kaya nga sabi, minsan nakita ko sa mga post sa Facebook, I would rather go out with someone who loves museum dates. Kasi aside from you are strengthening your relationship with your bebes, you are also learning. So that's something no, that I could give you as an advice na din, di ba? Habang nag-history tayo, may mga pa-life advice na rin dito. CR, paano? Sige nga, I'm curious about the answer of this design. Paano po nagkaroon ng primary source sa CR? Ayan. O, tara, museum date daw. Baka makahanap kayo dito ng pwede nyo pong i-date sa museum. Pagkakataon nyo po ninyo ito, makagawa kayo ng mga primary sources. Journals, possible, pero let's qualify that later on. Online archives, may napa-OMG na. Ayan, newspaper, Bible, digital history. Okay. Eyeglass ni Ernest. Sige, bibliography, etc. Okay. Alright, sige. Habang tayo ay yeah, you may go to the bathroom while waiting for our speaker. Yeah. Okay, vlogs. Sige. This time, we go naman sa discussion na provide sa atin ni Sir Giancarlo Manabat. Kanina, nag-open na si Sir Giancarlo Manabat, ang dami niyang fans. Talagang nag-ingay ang ating chat box. Sige, ang topic niya kanina is swim or sink in the sea of historical sources. Can you give me some of your takeaways po sa kanyang talk kanina? Ayan, habang nantay natin ang speaker po natin. Daming fans ni Mr. Giancarlo Manabat from, ano po yung mga key takeaways po natin from the topic discussed by Mr. Mr. Giancarlo Manabat. Okay. Ano yung mga significant learnings na take po natin? Ano po yung pinaka-importante or pinaka striking para sa inyo, no? Akala ko kung sinasabihin ng ang dami mong satsat, pinanganak ka ba, no? Okay, tama, di ba? Oftentimes we receive these kinds of remarks. Ang dami mong satsat, bakit pinanganak ka na ba noon? Okay, it's better, that it's much better to combine primary and secondary sources. So huwag tayo maging masyado absolute no or maging concentrated lamang sa mga ganito. There must be a combination so that we could have varied perspectives, diverse perspectives. Para doon, talagang makita natin yung direction ng ating inaaral. Tama po yan, salamat Mr. Bagoyen. History is not chismis, is a compilation of facts. Actually, nag-trend din to dati, di ba? Na parang it actually offended this historians and other history professionals saying na history is a chismis din naman. Okay? Take note, hindi po gawa-gawa ang kasaysayan. According nga kay Zeo Salazar, ito ay salaysay na may saysay. So there's a sense of these narratives. Okay? That there's that it okay, magiging aware, correct, diba? Awareness. There's also a discussion about martial law earlier, correct? About the role of primary and secondary sources, correct? Hindi po chismis ito. Ayan, learning, relearning, and unlearning things, correct, di ba? Kaya nga sabi ko kanina when I gave my reaction and my synthesis kay Sir Mendes kanina, okay, attending webinars like this could break, no, that the four corners of our classroom in terms of the confinement of learning. Kasi the more perspective we get, the more diverse discussions we have, okay, nagkakaroon tayo ng opportunity not only to gain new insights or learning, we can also reassess and revalidate these kinds of learning. Yan yung relearning na tinatawag. At may mga pagkakataon po na may mga natutuhan tayo. May mga natutuhan tayo nung elementary, nung high school, nung senior high school natin na mali pala. So that's unlearning, di ba? And I don't want to preempt our speakers later on, but one important thing that I was able to grasp from their discussion is hindi po mali ang historical revisionism. Diba? Many would say, no to historical revisionism. Binabaluktot niyo ang kasaysayan, dapat katotohanan lamang. But we have to be very careful about that. Bakit? Kasi si historical revisionism, ito ay pagtatama sa mga talang pangkasaysayan. Okay? Ang mali doon daw is historical distortion. Kasi pag distortion, binabaluktot mo yung katotohanan. Okay? Dinidistort mo na siya. Kaya nagkakaroon na ng fake and misleading information. And very relevant siya ngayon kasi ang dami nga naglipanan ng mga false information. Shout out, may shout out na parang naging vlog or live. Yan. Yeah, thank you so much for reminding your colleagues po, your classmates po to be respectful. I encourage everyone please to use the chat box solely for providing your insights, for providing your thoughts, okay, in this academic discourse so that no one would be disrespected. Okay. A historian shouldn't focus on one POV. Tama, kasi po, ang kasaysayan po, hindi lamang po siya one-sided, multi-sided po siya. They should focus on all perspectives to become more informed about a certain event. We should also venture out of our bubble. Tama, di ba? Kaya na, while I was listening to Mr. Manabat's talk, nabanggit din po yung US election. Okay, bakit natin babanggitin ang US election? Sa Pilipinas tayo. Anong pakialam natin dyan? That's wrong. Okay? Of course, meron pong epekto ang election ng USA sa atin. And of course, 2025, magkakaroon na naman po ng election. So maigi rin po na i-correlate natin ang pag-aaral ng kasaysayan para sa mga darating na election ng may pagpatuloy, ang mga dapat ipagpatuloy, pigilin ang mga dapat pigilin, at matuto sa kung ano ang mga nangyari sa nakaraan. Okay, so we already have our speaker. So again, welcome back. We already have 855 participants and counting. So at this juncture, I think we are all awake, alert, and alive already. So I am passing now our virtual microphone to our colleague who will be introducing the next speaker for this afternoon. And one moment, let me just check. All right. Okay. So at this juncture, may we have on our virtual floor Miss Mildred B. Chiarez, our Provincial Coordinator for Leyte and a Social Science Faculty from Visayas State University, to introduce now our first speaker for our afternoon session. Ma'am?
Thank you, Sir Ken. A pleasant afternoon, everyone. It is a privilege to introduce the next esteemed speaker. Our next speaker is an accomplished educator, historian, and researcher who has significantly contributed to the academic and cultural landscape of the Philippines. With over 15 years of experience in education, he is currently serving as an educator at the University of Santo Tomas, where he has taught since 2021. Prior to this, he was a professor at Baliwag Polytechnic College from 2016 to 2023. His teaching experience spans readings of Philippine history, life, works, and writings of Dr. Jose Rizal, Philippine popular culture, and his commitment to education is complemented by his impressive academic background. In his undergrad studies, he graduated cum laude with Bachelor of Arts in History from Mindanao State University in 1997. He then earned both his master's degree in history and Juris Doctor from the same school, where he was honored as a Santo Tomas Scholar, reflecting his academic dedication and excellence. As a historian and researcher, he has enriched Filipino historical scholarship through a series of significant publications. He also co-authored Asya, Pagtanaw at Pagunawa, isang batayang aklat, a foundational resource for understanding Asian history and culture, and completed an important study entitled The Agrarian Problem of Hacienda de Calamba, a historical judgment beyond research. Our esteemed speaker has been deeply involved in promoting historical and cultural awareness. He has organized and facilitated various workshops, seminars, and conferences sharing his insights on literature, history, and Filipino culture. These are just few of his professional affiliations, which underscore his dedication to preserving Philippine history and culture. He has been the vice president of the Association of Local Colleges and Universities in Region 3 since 2011, helping to shape regional activities, academic initiatives. His memberships include the Philippine Association for the Study of Culture, History, and Religion, the National Commission for Culture and Arts, and the Philippine Historical Association, where he actively contributes to advancing historical studies. This visionary scholar, his lifelong commitment to historical preservation, education, and cultural understanding continues to inspire and impact both academic and local communities. To share to us his invaluable insights on the topic, the place of local history in the Philippine historiology, with great pleasure and honor, please join me in giving a warm welcome and a virtual round of applause to Attorney John I. Donesa. Attorney Donesa, sir.
Thank you so much for that, Ma'am Mildred. We will be seeing definitely Attorney Donesa in a few, but at this afternoon, we will be having another topic. All right. So allow me to introduce our esteemed speaker. All right. So he is actually the current department head of the social sciences and philosophy in St. Mary's University with specialty in sociology, anthropology, history, social studies, and educational management. He was able to obtain his undergrad studies majoring in Bachelor of Arts, majoring in sociology at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Continued his grad studies, majoring in MAED, pedagogy at St. Mary's University, and at the same time, he was able also to obtain his management at the same institution. Currently, he is the one of the board of trustees in the Association of Social Sciences Educators for Traditions and Treasures, or Asset of the Philippines Incorporated. He is also an associate member of the National Research Council of the Philippines, the vice president for internal affairs of the Nueva Vizcaya Historical Society, a member of Asosasyon ng mga Dalubhasa, may hilig at interes sa kasaysayan or adhika ng Pilipinas. He is also a lifetime member of the NACM International Incorporated and a member of the National Indigenous Coalition on Higher Education, or NISH. He is also an active participant of various seminars and trainings and different research congress and a published author of various researches regarding educational management. So once again, let's give a hand to our speaker this afternoon, Dr. Kenneth L. Maslang. Sir, good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sir Kennedy. Am I okay? Okay po ba ang ating speak? Hello, sir. Okay po ba tayo? Okay po ang aking...
I can see and hear you clearly po, sir. Yes po.
Okay, so may I share now my presentation? Okay, so ayan. So naka-share na po ba in full sharing yung aking presentation po?
Yes, sir. We can see it na po.
Okay, thank you so much. So my name is Kenneth L. Maslang from St. Mary's University, Bayongbong, Nueva Vizcaya. And I am honored and privileged to present to you about the Igorots. Good afternoon to our students, to our GHIS students, Rizal, and other allied courses. Thank you for this opportunity to our national organization, ASSET. I hope this would help a little kahit papaano sa ating mga estudyante. Lalong-lalo na po, karamihan po sa atin taga Northern Luzon ngayon. Although we have some students from other parts of the country. Kahapon po, karamihan pala doon, Visayas and Mindanao. And nakapag-share din tayo kahapon. So I hope this presentation will provide something that is close to our heart and as a student in history or as a faculty or professor, instructor in history. Okay, so that's our advertisement. Now, let's have the eternal, eternal, or one of the questions that we always see or we always ask when we talk about the Igorots. Who are the Igorots? You know, as an Igorot and as a faculty, as a teacher, and as a member of an organization of the Igorots, then we are actually having a hard time explaining to some students. Although kahapon sabi nung isang faculty na they are already correcting notion about the Igorots, and I'm glad, I'm happy about that. I am in our university, we're also doing that. But every time that we hear some people na hindi masyadong acquainted sa mga Igorots, medyo may konti or hindi lang iba, yung iba talaga is ignorant about the matter. So I hope this presentation would really help. To the point na no, actually it's disheartening that up to now we see and we feel that hindi pa ganun ka widespread yung understanding natin about these groups of indigenous peoples. To answer this question, we can say or we can hear in our history probably, and in the past we hear statements like the Igorots are savages, the Igorots are backwards, low lives, they are headhunters, criminals, lawbreakers. But this was actually popularized by the Spaniards in the 16th to 17th century. Based on our history, we read that this was a time when they started to go up to the mountains and try to colonize and Christianize the people of the Cordilleras, but they were not able to do so. We have in our history the Igorot Revolt of 1600s, but and this will tell us that the Igorots were unconquered for over 300 years during the Spanish period in the Philippines. According to some records, this could be the reason why these negative connotations, these backward presentation of the Igorots became prominent because the Igorots actually fought, bleed, and died to defend their land, and so the Igorots were only became popular in the during the time of the Americans. But during the Spanish time, ang masasabi nila sa mga Igorots ay mga ganyan. No? They were savages, backwards, they were headhunters, they're lawbreakers, mga tulisanes, mga ganon. So now, in our discussion, actually, when we talk about the Igorots, we can say that they are actually, the Igorot term is actually an Austronesian term to refer to mountain people. In the research that we have, the Igorot could be termed, divided into two words. We have I, which means people of or dweller in, and the Gulot, or later on it became Gorot, which referred to mountain chain. In our context, this could be the Cordillera mountain ranges because we have three different mountain ranges in the northern Luzon. We have the Sierra Madre, we have the Caraballo Mountains, and we have the Cordillera Mountains. So in this context, they referred to the Cordillera mountain ranges. So ibig sabihin, yung word na Igorot, which was popularized by the Spaniards, referred to the people of the old Montañosa or Cordillera, now Cordillera region. But this is a derogatory colonial term, sabi nga natin, ano? This Igorot carried a derogatory meaning because of what happened to to the colonization by the Spaniards, and they were not able to colonize this territory or territories. Accordingly, was perhaps started as early in 1570, 1590s in other book. This was a time when Martin de Goite landed first in Manila, and he started to send troops in Benguet, in Baguio, in other places to colonize the region, but they were not able to do so. Okay. Now, however, they call these people Igorots with those terminology, people of the mountain. But there were few records or none at all that these mountain people called themselves Igorots, and they did not call themselves other name either. So ibig sabihin, before they were not called Igorots, but they were called Igorots. Now, what happened up to now? Do these people up to now? Do these people, do the Igorots want to be called Igorots? The answer is initially no, but this was gradually accepted. If you are going to check our ethnographic map, ito po yung ethnographic map natin, makikita nyo dyan, ito yung mga pangalan, no? We have around, according to the latest, around 100 plus indigenous peoples in the country, in the Philippines. And wala po dyan ang term na Igorot. Now it's already resolved. It's na-resolve na po yan na ngayon na ang Igorot is a collective term. Diba? Sabi nga natin kanina. It's a collective term to refer to the people of the mountain ranges of the Cordillera Administrative Region. So sasagutin natin yan mga iba, pero dito, nasabi dito sa Cordillera ay mga iba't ibang grupo katulad ng Bontok, Kankanay, Ibaloy, and other groups of people. Wala tayong makikita dito. This is our ethnographic map. Wala tayong makikita dito na term na Igorot. But bakit hanggang ngayon? At even the Igorot themselves actually even championed the term Igorot, and some of them are actually proud of this term, of this terminology, kahit may negative no. So initially sabi natin no, but gradually this was accepted. So the Igorots, even in the international community, they are more than ever, they are proud to become or to be called Igorots. In fact, their organizations carried the name Igorots, no? Igorot organization in Canada, in the United States, in New Zealand, and in other places. In schools, sa ating mga estudyante, at lalo-lalo na karamihan sa ating mga audience ngayon ay mga students, nauso yung bivak, which actually referred to the old sub-provinces of the Montañosa, Benguet, Ifugao, Bontoc, Apayao, Kalinga. And this organization championed the term Igorot also. The bivak, parang bivak, pag sinabi mong bivak, mga Igorot sa mga yan. And I believe members of the bivak organization, ng mga schools, hindi lang dito sa Luzon, pati rin sa ibang lugar kung may mga ganyan, basta member ng ganitong organization, they know how to defend, how to define, how to talk about the Igorots as a collective term referring to them. Even in the start, sabi nga natin, the start, medyo may konting hindi maganda kasi itong bivak na to was already nung time lang ng mga after World War II nagsimula. Before that, parang wala masyadong commonality actually yung mga provinces na to. Ang sabi dito sa ating research, yung commonality ay this could have been due to their being part of sub-province of the old Montañosa. Let's say 100 years earlier, yung mga taga-Benguet, hindi masyadong iba ang kanilang tingin sa kanilang sarili compared to the Ifugao or to those people in Apayao or Kalinga. But after the war, especially ito nga nabuo ang mga ganitong intercollegiate organizations, they started to identify themselves as one group of people na collectively termed nga as Igorots. But sabi nga natin doon sa ating ethnographic map, wala namang Igorot, kundi ang meron ay mga Ibaloy, Kankanay, Kalinga, Ifugao, Tuwalit, Kayangan, mga ganun. And they have distinct cultural heritage compared with each other, magkakaiba sila. But sabi nga natin as early as after World War II when they saw when they become part as one group, as a province, as a region, then they identify themselves already. And malaki ang tulong ng mga organizations sa mga universities, colleges na bumuo ng BIBAC or in other places na iba na rin yung pangalan, hindi na BIBAC but they refer to the Cordilleran students from the Cordillera. Then, I would like to present some celebrated aspects in history that would relate to my discussion because of this hindi masyadong magandang notion na sinasabi nila about the Igorots. Actually, ang sabi ko sa mga estudyante ko, hindi nyo ba alam na ang unang tao sa Pilipinas ay probably Igorot, no? Hindi nyo alam yan, no? But probably baka ang unang tao sa Pilipinas ay mga Igorots. Tingnan natin. But before that, let me just tell you about some lessons in history na siguro nalaman nyo na. But yung mga hindi pa alam nito, this could be a good addition to your knowledge about history. We say that history is confined to the existence of written records. So periods during the time without written records, this could not be considered history. Rather, it was referred to as prehistory. Or yung sabi ng mga iba, we say that history ends where anthropology begins. Ako, as a sociologist, meron akong sariling focus sa human aspects. Then yung mga historians, meron din, sabi nga natin, sa written records. Pero meron ding grupo, discipline natin na talagang focus nila ay yung walang historical or written records. And they were anthropologists. So sa atin, kung titingnan natin sa Pilipinas, ang start ng history, kung titingnan natin with this idea, kailan nag-start ang history sa Pilipinas? Ang sabi ng mga historians, history in the Philippines probably began around 900 AD because of what they discovered in Laguna, yung copper plate inscription of the early baybayin characters na mayroon daw this archipelago now known as the Philippines, merong written records and they dated that as early as 900 AD, around 900 AD. So ibig sabihin, yan ang history ng Pilipinas. But meron tayong mga records na nagsasabi nga, no, yung Bayer's theory na as early as 1000 or 2000 before Christ, meron nang pumunta na rin dito sa Pilipinas. Pero hindi nga yan yung theory na susundan natin at sasabihin natin na actually ang mga naunang tao sa Pilipinas ay mga Igorots. So, didebatehin ako dito ng mga kapwa ko historians but history naman is dynamic and we can talk about that again and again and pwedeng i-open yung debate and as soon as makompleto kahit hindi not in a lifetime probably but in the lifetime of our great grandchildren baka ma-open yung ganung idea. Pero ito yung claim natin. So meron tayong itong mga anthropological pieces of evidence na nakita nila. Ang early na napauso or na-popularize ay yung Tabon Man na found in the Tabon Cave in Palawan that could have they dated about 30 to 9,000 years before Christ. So yan yung napauso nun and then ito yung mga ni Landa Zocano sa pag-criticize niya sa Bayer's theory na represent ng mga anthropologists. And later on they found out another evidence bone, napakaliit lang na ano. At ito ay sa Calao Cave in Cagayan. So they call this the Calauman. About 70,000 years before Christ. So malayo yan, ha? 7,000 na. Yung isa, 30,900. So sa ating discussions in the past, yung first existence ng early modern humans ay about 300,000. So ito 70,000 kasi nga ang main belief is from the African migration sa Africa na nakita yung mga early modern humans na mga Homo sapiens. And they traveled around the world, around Southeast Asia. So kaya pumunta dito about 70,000 years na. So these were the Homo sapiens. Up to now naman, we are na Homo sapien. However, ito nga yung ating nakikita sa continuing research na meron sila nakita sa Rizal, Kalinga. We call this the Kalinga man. So we have the Tabon man, Calao man, Kalinga man. Ito na yung latest. Rizal Kalinga is part of the Cordillera, part of the mountain range na tinawag nga ng mga lugar ng mga Igorots. So sa Rizal Kalinga, meron silang nakitang this is sometime in 2014. Hindi pa ito nababalidate masyado. So, but this will change the history of the world. This will change world history. Because in the world history, sa Africa yung ating at hindi pa ganito ka late. This is already 700,000 na doble yung sabi natin 300,000 yung Homo sapien. So hindi to Homo sapien. This is Homo erectus. It's slaughtered but ang theory is a rhinoceros was found and butchered. And sino pa bang a rhinoceros is an animal, and who would butcher an animal? Possibly a human being. A hominid. And ito nga yung date nila about 709. Kung yan, ang date nila panahon yan ng mga Homo erectus. And sa Kalinga. So, ayan, that would probably spark a debate na ang unang tao sa Pilipinas ay Igorot pala. Alright, so some other historical reference to the Igorots. Yung sinasabi ko kanina, 1570, Martin de Goy's first landing in Manila. And then in 1600s, we have the Igorot Revolt na very victorious kasi nga kaya sabi natin na about that time, starting that time and 300 years after, hindi na-conquer ang mainland Igorot. Siguro sa mga may nakita silang inkomyenda sa part ng Lalo, Cagayan na malapit sa Igorotan, but hanggang doon hindi wala masyadong sa Spanish time. It was during the American time when many parts in Baguio and Benguet were improved, developed by the Americans. Or let's say exploited by the Americans because of the mines or yung mga gold na areas where they excavated the golds or mga mining companies na na-establish. No? And then, ito yung mga portrayal nila about the Igorots, no? Lalong-lalo nung 1887, nabanggit to sa part to ng dinidiscuss natin sa Rizal class din, na nagkaroon ng human zoo, nagkaroon ng exposition. And some of the subjects ay kinuha sa Pilipinas. They exported some of the Igorots in the Philippines and established an imaginary village at nilagay ang mga tao dyan. No? Una, it's supposed to be animals, mga kalabaw, mga ganun, but later on, pati tao na rin, ginawa nilang exhibit. And they were forced to do they were forced or they were asked, they were requested. Some will say they were forced, some will say they were requested and they liked it. Or some would say they were forced, they were paid. Wala silang choice. So they were asked to present their rituals for the satisfaction of the world, of the people, of the civilized society. And they want to see uncivilized people in yung kanila. And naulit pa ito, no? After the Spaniards, meron ding American din. Sa American time, they have this Louisiana Purchase Exposition in the early 1900s. Again, the idea is the same. They have created an imaginary village where the Igorots have to play or have to present their traditional with their costume, with their attires, or some people wouldn't call it attire or costume thing. They would rather say it could be mas magandang sabihin na these are garb, clothing, or whatever. But yan ang nangyari, ano? Nagkaroon ng mga ganyang exposition and they expose these people probably again sabi ko nga for the satisfaction of the civilized society to see uncivilized people. That's a shame, no? So the shame in our history that happened, and we don't know if some of these Eagles were able to go home. Some nandyan na rin o nag-stay na rin doon, yung iba hindi masyadong documented. Medyo matagal ito, umabot to ng medyo mahaba-habang time yan, may 1900s, and then in different places ito meron din daw sa New York early 20th century or 1900s. Again, ganun yung nangyari. They exhibited people, they created an imaginary village of the different tribes, not only the Igorots but other places in the Philippines. And they let these people perform their yung kanilang mga rituals. Okay pa ba tayo, Sir Kennedy? May mga nag-erase na ignore ko lang ang mga to, no?
Yes, sir, kasi nagpipindot po nila, pero okay lang na po.
Okay, thank you so much. So, ayan. Now, in 1943 or during the time of sumikat yung ganito si Carlos P. Romulo, ang sabi niya, the Igorots are not Filipinos, and this sparked a debate. Parang a century or not a century but after the Madrid Exposition and New York and Louisiana Expositions, naulit-ulit yung parang horror sa mga Igorots na andyan na naman yung portray nila in wrong portrayal ng mga Igorots. And eto, our Carlos P. Romulo was an ambassador, but accordingly, nagbigay na siya ng apology and nagbigay siya ng explanation about this. But this left a mark about the Igorots, and always binabalikan to. The Igorots are not Filipinos. Positive ba ito or negative sa mga Igorots? So some took it negatively, definitely negatively. They attacked Carlos P. Romulo. But some sa mga historian, sabi ni Sir Xiao Chua kahapon, dapat ang historian hindi lang nagpe-present ng facts, kundi nag-a-analyze din. So kapag i-analyze mo pala ito, some would take it in an optimistic way or positive naman pala yan. No? Tingnan natin yung konteksto. So does this mean does this statement if taken out of context, ano ba ang ibig sabihin yan? Could this be encapsulated in a larger context? So the answer could be kasi hindi natin natutuwa ako sa history. Sabihin ko sa mga estudyante na ang hirap magbigay ng absolute reality sa mga But of course, we know what is yung sinasabi kanina pang umaga, kahapon na there are facts. Actually, malaking tanong yan yung mga alam ko, yung mga previous speakers have their own, of course, references. Pero lagi ko sinasabi sa mga estudyante ko, mahirap mag-establish ng facts sa history. Kasi alam mo, yung una nating pinag-uusapan sa history, di ba? In readings in history, meron tayo yung site of the first mass. So, nasaan yung site of the first mass? At kung tingnan mo yung history nun, for 300 years, there's the Butuan tradition. So it was in Butuan. But in the 1900s, nung dumating yung mga ibang historians and they presented other pieces of evidence, they started a debate that hindi sa Butuan, kundi sa Limasawa. So yun ang, ngayon, matagal na debate yan. I think ang ending yan is nung 2020, nung finally the President Duterte signed the Mujeres panel na nagtatalaga na ang first mass, site of the first mass was in Limasawa. So you see, it's a long journey of debate. So I'm not, of course, hindi ko kinokontra yung mga ibang historians and yung mga experts kasi ako rin, hindi naman ako masyadong experts din. Ako po ay isang neophyte lang din sa research and sa history. But sinasabi ko lagi na sometimes it's hard to establish historical fact. However, ang lagi kong sinasabi sa mga estudyante ko, meron po tayong facts. Meron po tayong tinatawag na historical facts sa ngayon. So take note, ha? Paano mo na-determine yung sinasabi nila na facts? Ito ang historical facts natin. Ito yung napag-agreean sa ngayon. Ito yung sinasabi ng mga historians sa ngayon. Ito yung scientifically, rigidly, rigorously debated, and they agreed to something. And this is the facts. These are the facts in history. However, possible ba na yung mga iba rin naman na hindi napaboran, possible ba na baka sila pala ang tama in the future? We don't know. I mean, we live only 100 years. Tinan mo tong debate, the site of the first mass, 300 years in the making na pinagdebate na sinasabi tapos mababago after 300 years. So we don't know actually. So sinasabi ko lagi sa mga estudyante is maging open-minded tayo. Huwag tayong mag-close. We don't close our understanding about history. History is dynamic. And we don't know in the future with many but for now, okay, there are facts, but these facts are not absolute. So let's open the debate for others na pati nga yung Taliano Gold pinatulan ko na sige, i-open nyo lang, ilabas nyo lang, malay natin. Sabi nga ni meron ako nakuhang sagot kay Sir Chua kahapon, sabi niya inuwi pala ng mga Japanese yung mga gold. So pinagdedebatehan natin kung meron Sabi niya karamihan inuwi. Meron lang konting natira yung nakita ni sa Baguio, Rojas yata, Rojas or whatever the nakinuha naman ni Marcos. So yun yung kwento. So but that's continuing. Di ba? Sabi nga natin yung kaya nga ito maganda na nagkakaroon tayo ng mga ganitong webinar and we talk about local history kasi karamihan sa sa atin ay national history and we started these local history topics and we learn a lot. And marami talagang pwedeng ma-debunk. Actually, itong discussion ko na to about the Igros, parang hindi naman ito talaga very kasi ilan lang to, mga 30 minutes, 1 hour. So, mas maganda talaga we dig deeper to primary resources, local history. Parang start lang ito ng ating discussion para tayo ay maging curious at maging kahit estudyante pa lang tayo may imbibe na natin yung tunay na mga ginagawa ng mga historians. And kayo din, di ba? Magkakaroon kayo ng mga projects ng mga estudyante. So maybe in the third term sa GHIS, ang project nyo ay magkaroon ng documentary about certain groups of people and simulan nyo na maging historian din. You would have a taste of being a historian na mag-interview, mag-document, pupunta kayo sa site talaga kung may pagkakataon. Diba? So, ito, kung titingnan natin yung konsepto ni Carlos P. Romulo doon sa sinabi niya na Igorots are not Filipinos, accordingly, ang term pala, ang sabi daw niya pala ay ito, the fact remains that the Igorots is not Filipino and we are not related and it hurts our feeling to see him pictured in American newspaper such as typical Filipino tribesmen. Maganda naman pala yung pagkasabi. At ang kanyang explanation to after nung nag-criticize siya, ang explanation niya is because the Igorots were unconquered for many years, then hindi sila napabilang ng mga Filipino. Kasi yung, iba, yung sano ng Spaniards noon is they brought these people, meron silang encomienda system, and then meron silang plaza complex system na dinala na lahat sa plaza. So yung mga wala sa plaza, they were considered filibusters or mga rebelde, mga tulisanes, and they could not be part of the Filipino community. And the Igorots na hindi nga so yan yung reason niya. The Igorots were unconquered, that's why they were not Filipinos. Parang ganun. Pero syempre, andun na yung negative negative impact niyan. The point na noon, ang isa sa mga nag-popularize ng negative negative kasi talagang nag-speech pa sa Congress. So halimbawa itatapat natin ito si Sir Romulo, a prominent figure in Filipino history, widely known for his multifaceted career as a diplomat, journalist, and public servant. And criticized ng isang congressman in Mountain Province before. We have si Alfred Lamen, attorney Alfred Lamen, a pioneering Igorot in Old Mountain Province na nag-question dito sa statement ni Carlos Pirumulo na the Igorots are not Filipinos. And you see, yan yung na-edit na masyado yan. Pero ang comparison dyan, sabi nga ni, yung mga nag-explain kay Attorney Lamen, sabi niya, eto ba ang ayaw niyong maging ancestor? You see, parang mas syempre in terms of height, mababa si Romulo, ito si Lamen 6-footer. In terms of complexion, maputi si Lamen, ito si Romulo ay maitim. So, parang tanungan is, sino ba ang mas gusto nyo ngayon na maging Filipino? So anyway, that's trivia lang yan. But nung sabi nga natin when we try to analyze deeper yung statement ni Romulo, ay hindi naman negative actually. Pwedeng actually sabihin niya na tama yun. No? Na because we were unconquered and we were not called Filipinos, but it doesn't mean that he or Carlos P. Romulo was discriminating the Igorots that time. To the point na magkaroon ng reaction na ganito na sasabihin ni Sir Attorney Lamin din na bakit naman ayaw niyong maging Pilipino ang mga Igorots? Tingnan mo nga ako, parang ganoon nun eh. Tingnan mo nga ako. Diba? Maputi, matangkad. Ito ayaw niyo bang maging ganito ang mga Pilipino? Diba? So, yan yung ano bang tingin niyo sa mga Igorots? Ayan. So, yan yung kanyang presentation. Kasi talaga, medyo nagkakaroon tayo ng negative image about the Igorots na Igorots have tails, Igorots are this. Pero, mga Igorots, yan, katulad ni Attorney Lamen. Tayo. May mga makikita mo lang, akala mo, ang tingin natin sa Igorot kasi is yung parang the same as the Negritos, yung portrayal nga ng mga Spaniards na curly hair, dark-skinned people, pandak. Hindi naman na lahat, hindi naman karamihan. No? Actually, you go to Baguio, you go to Mountain Province, Kalinga, and you will see people na tall, dark, and never mind. Oh, dark and never mind. Or mga rosy cheeks and mga mapuputi na, di ba? So, now, tuloy natin. Ito yung maganda kasi tinutuloy natin yung debate natin and yung ating gustong ipunto dito. In the 21st century, during our time, so ito, matagal na yung sinasabi natin, pero sa ngayon, mandun pa rin. Yung, ang hindi maganda, up to this time, we have a wrong portrayal of the Igorots. During the pandemic, lumabas yung mga, nag-module tayo, di ba? Module tayo, and then lumabas yung mga nasa module. And pwedeng hindi ito totoo kasi may mga nagsabi na hindi naman totoo yan, hindi yan lumabas, gawa-gawa lang. Pero yun nga, sabi ni, again, natuto tayo kay Sir Chua kahapon, sabi niya na, hindi naman dahil false, mali na. No? Magandang tingnan natin, bakit ikinakalat? Bakit sinishare? So, maganda rin tingnan natin na yung mga false information, yung sabi nating fake, i-analyze din natin. Pero some of these, ito papakita ko, some of these are, hindi siya fake, kundi lumabas talaga. And may mga SDO talaga na nag-ako naman ng responsibility and they made public apologies about this. So tingnan natin, mabibigla kayo. Hanggang sa 21st century, may mga ganito at ganito pa rin ang gustong ipakita about the Igorots. Ayan, halimbawa, okay, ito muna. So, isa lang ba to? Doble. Okay, anyway, dito muna tayo. Tabid lo. Nakita mong tinutokso ng kaklase mo ang isang batang Igorot dahil sa kanyang anyo. Take note ha? Wala naman sanang problema kung intindihin mo ng maayos. Pero nung lumabas yan, negative agad ang reaction ng mga Igorots yan. O sa kabila, hindi ako makikipaglaro sa aking kaklase na Igorot dahil iba ang kanyang pananamit. Di ba? So, tingnan mo. Well, nagkataon kasi ng Philippine history, nasa elementary, di ba? Nasa elementary. And saka high school, nag-start ka na ng Asian Civ and then so kung ito yung nakikita natin sa module, ang reaction dito ng mga Igorots or yung mga karamihan, negative. Wala namang, sino bang magtatanggap dyan na positive ang idea nito? Ano ba ang anyo ng mga Igorots na kakaiba ba? Ano bang pananamit nila? Hindi ba sila nagdadamit? Punta kayo sa mga lugar nila, baka makita nyo, meron na rin sila. As early as 1900s, naka-Levi's na ang mga yan. Akala nyo lang, di ba? Meron na silang mga damit na rin na dinadamit na rin ng mga lowlanders. So, sa kanila, negative yung ganitong So, tingnan natin yung mga iba. Ito, damit damit, anyo, damit. Meron pa, sabi naman dito, ito, bahay naman. Di ba? Nakakatuwa ang bahay ng mga Igorot. Maliliit ito at may bubong na makapal na damo. Tabi-tabi ang mali... Well, ang defend, actually sinubukan nilang i-defend ito. Nababasa kong defend yan is baka daw ang context niya ay history. So, baka noon. Sabi. Pero, noon man or ngayon, tingnan mo naman pati yung option. No? Ang option ng sagot, A, bahay ng langgam, bahay ng mga itik. Ginawa nyo pang sobra naman yan. Sa tingin ng iba, sobra naman yan. Tumingin nga kayo sa mga bahay ng mga Igorots kung may mga ganyan, bahay ng langgam, bahay ng itik, di ba? So, sa kanila, negative yung ganito. Although may nagsasabi na baka tingnan natin sa context kung saan nailabas. Pero una pa lang, sabi daw, pwede mo namang ilagay dito na nung unang panahon, ganun. So anyway, ito pa. Ito naman, ito sinasabi ko, nasaan na ang mga daming reaction dito. Pag sinabi mong ito kasi nasabi mo, Ilocos, Ilocano, Pangasinan, Pangasinense, Bulacan, Bulakenyo, Bicol, Bicolano, Igorot, Baguio, Aita, Banawe. Wala nang problema dyan. May mga Aita siguro sa Banawe. Pero ang tinanong mo dito is Ilocano ang tawag sa mga Ilocos, tapos biglang yun nga Aita sa Banawe. Very wrong. Very wrong portrayal. At ito sa mga Ilocano basahin nyo nga ito kung okay itong statement. Kabailan kadi ti Igorot ti makaturpos ti adal na. Diba? Kung babasahin mo sa positive na konteksto, maganda. Pero sa tingin mo pa lang, una pa lang, parang ang tanong agad, wow na wow. Diba? Parang are we not capable of educating ourselves also just like many other IPs, many other, even the mainstream in the society ay So, ang ganda naman na minsan pag-usapan natin and kung lagi nating sinasabi pa rin, pati nga yung mga iba't ibang plight din ng mga IPs, part din ito ng mga misunderstanding na kailangang itama. Tayo nasa academe, ako minsan lagi akong nagsisingi dyan kasi yung lugar namin melting point talaga ng maraming mga grupo at daming mga Igorot. So lagi ko sinasabi, wala namang Igorot talaga, wala sa ethnographic map. Collective term yan to refer to the people of the Cordillera. But some people are actually accepting it and even are being proud of it para i-defend yung sarili na with this it's something na gusto nilang para may defend nila yung sarili nila with this kind of portrayal. May isa dito talaga na umamin daw na lumabas talaga yan sa SDO, isang division, isang school district division, and then tinanggal naman nila and then nag-sorry naman, nagbigay sila ng apology. So ganito rin dito, ito ang Banawe rice terraces. Makikita ito sa Mountain Province at Apayao. Well, rice terraces, common yan sa Cordillera. But yung Banawe rice terraces, of course, it could be found in Banawe, Fugao. Parang, kala nyo, old na to. Pero ito, recently lang, nung Cordillera Day, this year, kita nila, merong nailabas na ng Department of Tourism. Love the Philippines, Banawe rice terraces, tapos sa baba niya, Benguet. So, naging katatawanan na naman yan sa Facebook at sabi nila ano ba naman, hanggang ngayon pa talaga ayaw tantanan ang mga na mali-mali ang presentations. Well, so who are the Igorots? Para matapos na, ito siguro marinig nyo from one na nagre-research about the Igorots. I would say the Igorot song first. Uh, this was popularized by the Spaniards and carried a negative connotations like savages and hunters. But first, this was not initially accepted but gradually embraced as a protest to ridicule those so obsessed with the term. So gusto nilang karmahin yung mga nagsasabi kasi gusto nga ipakita na, okay, Igorots kami. O ano ngayon? Diba? Igorot, Igorots kami na uh, nasan yung savages, headhunters, pero ang dami naman ng Igorots na nakaka-advance in life, no? Not only in different aspects. Hindi, yun sana isang present ko, pero you can search in the internet, ang dami na yan. May isang Muay Thai champion na Igorota, may mga nakapasok din sa mga pageant na Igorota, yung takayo sa US, may mga Igorots doon, ang dami. So parang yung iba, para i-ridicule, no? Para karmahin yung mga nagsasabi na ang mga Igorot ay ganito. Okay, sige, Igorot kami. Pero ako yung boss mo. Ako yung boss mo, Igorot yung boss mo. So anong ano ang problema mo doon? Parang ganun. So to make it right, yeah, it is a collective term to refer to the people of the Cordillera. But the term Igorot is not included in the established ethnographic map of the Philippines. So ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, pinakita ko na wala doon sa ethnographic map. Ang mayroon is of course yung different tribes in the Cordillera like the Kankanay, Ibaloys, Tuwali, Ayangan, Kalinga, Balangaw, and other groups of people, other ethno-linguistic groups. The Igorots could be Ibaloys, Kankanais, so they are all in the Cordillera Administrative Region. Dami po yan. Abot ng mga 50 plus din na different ethno-linguistic groups. And of course, the Igorots are also Filipinos. So medyo i-rephrase natin yung sinasabi natin kanina na Igorots are not Filipinos. Igorots are also Filipinos who just like many Filipinos have worked hard and continues to do so to protect, preserve, and promote their cultural heritages. Especially now, no? Na naging nabigyan na talaga ng medyo malaki-laking voice ang mga IPs because of the IPMR. So alam niyo naman, kung alam niyo, yung tinatawag nilang Indigenous Peoples Mandatory Representation sa mula sa barangay hanggang munisipyo. So meron na tayong isang sanggunian, no? Binigyan nila ng seat sa legislative body yung mga IPs. So doon sa halimbawa sa isang province normally, sa isang munisipyo normally may 8 na councilors, pang 9 yung ABC, pang 10 yung Federation Chairman ng SK, pang 11 na sanggunian din. So sweldo rin siya meron din siyang allotment sa munisipyo. And then pag nag-meet yung mga municipal IPMR, magpipili din sila ng kanilang provincial IPMR at yung provincial IPMR na yon ay board member Sangguniang Panlalawigan. So sweldo rin siya, meron din siyang allotment as a Sangguniang Panlalawigan sa province. So you see, with this binibigay ng gobyerno ay talagang katulad ng mga ibang grupo, ang mga Igorots, mga iba't ibang grupo sa Cordillera ay nagiging active na rin sa mga ganitong usapin. Likewise, the Igorots carry the same triumphs and challenges of being a Filipino. Well, siguro ito ang iiwan natin sa ating mga estudyante about the Igorots. You can see this in the website na makikita nyo later sa references natin, or you can just type 10 things about everyone should know about the Igorots. So you can read, you can see Igorots are perhaps the humblest people. So medyo inaangat natin ng konti ang ating sarili. Igorots are perhaps the humblest people to be around. Igorots value education so much, just like many IPs in the Philippines and in the world. Igorots are not fashionistas, but this was before. You can see now Igorots also who try to integrate the tradition and the modern na rin ng ano, and ito ang medyo debate ngayon kung pwede ba na gawing mini skirt yung kanilang traditional attire or garb, ganun. Pwede bang baguhin? Pwede bang gamitin yon pang ano? So hanggang ngayon pinagdedebatehan naman yan. And some agreed na maganda na rin magka-blend sa modern, and some would prefer the tradition, the conservative presentation of this cultural element or component of culture. Igorots love country music, cowboy stories. They are acquainted with this as early as, sabi ko nga, during the time of the Americans, talagang na-integrate na, start ng integration ng mga Igorots sa modern society or lifestyle. Igorots are practical. Igorots are simple. Igorots always think of the future. Igorots value their family so much. And Igorots are DIY people, and Igorot women are not frigid. So, hanapin nyo na lang yung ibig sabihin yan. Alright, so my final words to our students and to our fellow faculty and educators here. The Igorots, beyond the mountains of history, are in a unique position to set an example by bridging the legacy of the past with the shaping of the future. As part of the practical lessons from history, we believe that not only the Igorots, but everyone must find ways to protect, preserve, and promote our cultural heritage while also adapting to the ever-changing world. So yun lang po ang ating presentation. Thank you so much, and you can check my references later on. Thank you so much for your kind and understanding, listening. Matago-tago takulusan. Good afternoon po sa ating lahat. Mabuhay po ang asset ng Pilipinas. Thank you.
Ayan. Thank you so much, Dr. Maslang, for that. No, I was actually listening. I'm trying also to digest this one because nakakatuwa na na-include po ang topic na ito sa ating webinar kasi napakarami po pa rin pong mga misconceptions, marami pa rin taboos, marami pa rin pong mga stereotypes against our indigenous peoples, particularly the Igorots, no? Ayun, so agyama kami unay, Sir Maslang, thank you so much. It's actually great to see a focus now on indigenous people in this webinar. Kasi one of my area of studies din sa thesis ko ng MPA is about indigenous people. Thank you so much for that po. At this point, may we open the virtual floor for some questions, sharing of insights and key takeaways po for our speaker, particularly on the talks about our Igorot, our brothers and sisters, Igorot brothers and sisters po. Ayun. Okay, so let me just check. May we invite once more Sir Kenneth Maslang, Dr. Kenneth Maslang, for our open forum. I think we have one question here in our Q&A. Allow me to read the question. Do you think all these labels pertaining to the people living in an area is harmful and poses more of a division between Filipinos instead of an understanding for each culture? Ayan po.
Yan, thank you so much for the question. Yan, yung sinasabi natin kanina, it's some parang double-edged sword yan eh. May mga iba tinitingnan na negative, may mga iba na tinitingnan na positive. Yung term pala nga, sabi nga, di ba, ng isang ambassador, sabi niya, the Filipinos are not, the Igorots are not Filipinos. Pwede mo talagang tingnan yan sa dalawang, perspective. Maraming magsasabi na negative yan. Bakit ba? Bakit hindi? Ni-discriminate nyo kami. Hindi ba kami Filipino? Nandito rin naman kami sa Pilipinas. Diba? Pero on the other hand, tingnan mo rin yan sa positive na way. They are not Filipinos because ito yung pinagdaanan ng mga Filipinos. So yung context na sinasabi ni Romo na that time, Probably, hindi natin masyado unless we could resurrect Sir Romulo and ask him ano ba talaga ang gusto mong sabihin doon, no? But ang explanation ng mga iba doon yeah, because we were not conquered and we were not part of the initially negative. We should be more than proud of it na hindi tayo ganun. But yun nga, yun yung problema doon. So, yung tanong mo kung ito ay nagbibigay ng division or na pro-promote ng ating talagang division yung unang diyan. But kukunti naman sa atin talaga yung magdidig deeper. Mga educators lang tulad namin ni Sir Kennedy ang mag-iisip na Ang unang tingin diyan, sabihin agad. Bakit? Negative agad ang So, first, talagang negative yung effect niyan. Kukunti yung explain later on na positive naman. Kaya siguro ang suggestion natin diyan ay maganda naman at nagkakaroon tayo ng ganitong mga webinar, and even in our class, in my class talaga lahat hindi ko napapalampas yan na topic, lalo na pag pupunta sa topic ng misconception. No, meron tayong chapter sa GHIS na we have one history, one past, but many histories. So yan, sinisingit ko doon yung mga dapat nating i-debunk na notions about the ignorance. Ganun. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Maslak. All right, another question po. Regarding also some dialogues with with the Igorots, no, what do we ought to know when engaging in sensitive dialogue with the Igorots with the purpose of gaining better insight into their perspective concerning their opinion on their cultural resiliency against colonial efforts made by the Spaniards, and may follow po siya, and of course their cultural heritage in the modern context of 21st century.
Yung question is what we ought to know. No, maganda parang ano ba ang dapat nating gawin? Uso yung tatlong bagay sa ating sa culture natin. Yung pinag-usapan natin about awareness and knowledge sa culture. Meron tayong tawag na cultural competency, cultural awareness, and cultural sensitivity. So yan yung lagi nating iniisip diyan. I don't know with other but we can say na gone are the days na hindi natin iniisip ito. So lagi na nating iniisip na kailangan sensitive, yung cultural sensitivity nandun lagi. Yung cultural awareness meron din dapat. And of course yung cultural competence, yun yung pinakamataas yung cultural competence. So yun ang tingin ko na if depende rin sa level mo siguro, kung ikaw ay educator, dapat alam mo yung tatlong ito. Pero kung ikaw naman ay estudyante, pwede kang ma-excuse siguro na hindi mo alam ito, but since you are learning history and ito na yung mga pinag-uusapan sa history, more than ever, talagang we have to live with this in the Philippines. We are living as a multicultural society. Nandun yung point ko yung dati na bakit hindi tayo pwedeng maging isa? Parang katulad ng mga ibang when the Japanese call themselves Japanese, they are one. When the Koreans said they are Koreans, they are one. But when the Filipinos said they are Filipinos, it could mean they are Ilocano or they are Pampangueño, they are Bicolano. You go to other places in the country, sabi na, Pilipino ka ba? Meron pa rin magsasabi siguro na hindi. Ilocano ako. Pero the point now is, depende sa context mo. Kung ikaw ay estudyante, malamang pwede kang excuse dyan. But sometimes you have to think of this na ganun talaga yung natin. Marami tayong kultura sa Pilipinas at dapat talaga maging sensitive tayo, maging aware tayo, at maging competent tayo sa mga usaping pang-cultural, cultural discussions. And marami yan. Itong magandang venue, opportunity na nandito tayo at clarify natin yung ating mga ideas about different IPs in the Philippines. And nakafocus tayo ngayon sa mga Igorots. So yun sir. I hope na sagot yun sa cultural sensitivity, cultural awareness, and cultural competence.
Ayun, thank you so much. Actually, nag-note po ako, Dr. Maslang, kasi I was also about to ask sana, as an educator myself, I also handle, kasi here in La Union, we are also a melting pot of various indigenous peoples and indigenous cultural communities. So, we also have Kankanais here attending our classes. So, yung tanong ko sana kanina is, just in case there are some discussions pertaining to their practices, which are, of course, not usual to us Ilocanos, there would be diversity of perspective there. But then again, you were able to talk about cultural awareness, cultural sensitivity, and of course, the peak would be cultural competence. So thank you so much
Yes,
for
sir.
that one. Sir, medyo para naging interesado ang ating mga participants kayo. Medyo bumaha
Sige lang
kayo.
po, sir. No problem.
Okay po. Another one, there are indigenous people in every country and in every part of the world, and yet they're bringing they're being treated like second class citizens, and they don't belong here, as if they don't belong here. How do we combat prejudice against them, and how do we approach people with such views daw po?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Maganda. Di ba yun ang sinasabi ko? Akala kasi 100 years issue ito, no? Di ba? Sabi ko nga, time pa nung 19th century, 1900s, 2000. Akala natin, wala na nga yan kasi marami na tayong mga lessons. Pero hindi pala. So, tama rin yung observation mo na andun pa rin yung observation na the IPs, hindi lang Igorots, kundi the IPs are second class. Andun pa rin yung kanilang, they still feel being discriminated. So, ngayon, ano ang pwede natin gawin to combat this? Again, sabi ko, if you're educator, nakatulad natin, na you may join the discussion. We have, of course, in every group, sa mga Igorots, sa mga Bicolano, sa mga marami sa Mindanao, there are groups na talagang, itong this organization is another national organization na magtatakal ng mga ganitong issues. So, join the discussion and palawigin lang natin yung ating connection. Let's be open-minded, let's be holistic, let's be open na yung sinatawag nating cultural relativism. Yan, yung magandang i-imbibe natin. And yung tinatawag nating ethnocentrism, yan ang dapat nating ibaon na sa limot. No? Hindi na tayo maging ethnocentric. Gone are the days, as nasabi natin na ang mga Tagalogs ang magagaling. They are cream of the crop, no? Or mga Ilocanos. Hindi. Hindi. So, i-ano natin yung ethnocentrism natin at mas magandang i-embrace natin ang cultural relativism. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Another point of to take note, cultural relativism. Sir, in your point of view daw po, according to Mr. Dexter Michael Asbanique, what are some challenges the Igorot community faces in preserving their culture today?
Actually, kung taga-Igorot ka or taga-Cordillera ka, kung hindi ka taga-Cordillera pala, parang tingin mo wala masyadong nagagawa or meron silang ginagawa pero parang tama lang, no? Pero pag nasa Igorot land ka na taga-Cordillera ka, makikita mo na parang sumobra na. Actually, sumobra na yung mga iba. Sumobra na yung ginagawa nilang to the point na nag-aaway-away na kung ano ba talaga ang original. Ano ba talaga yung ano ba yung ginagawa natin? What is the direction of our fight, no? Ano yung direction ng ating laban sa pag-promote, pag-protect, pag-preserve ng ating kultura. Kasi may mga iba na nag-integrate na, no? Nag-integrate ng modern and then yung traditional. Makakita ka, pageant, beauty pageant, may naka-miniskirt. Yung ginamit na miniskirt, yun yung colors, yung parang yun yung identity nila as a group, ginawang miniskirt. Iba naman, ginawang bra, ginawang ganun ba na sa tingin ng iba, bakit naman ganun, di ba? Bahag, ginawang table runner, ganun. Bahag, ginawang display sa church. So, yung mga iba, ayaw. Yung iba naman, may gustong sabihin din. So, pumunta ka sa mga iba't ibang lugar sa Cordillera, meron na silang sariling mga interpretation on how to protect, preserve, But, ang maganda dito is ang maganda na I think okay na nangyayari is lumalabas yung mga elements ng kultura na pagdidebatehan ngayon between the old and the young kung paano ang magandang presentation. Katulad nung alam niyo yan, yung may karon ng yung competition ng Mr. World yata yon. And mga lalaki, nagrampa. Rumampa sila. And usually, sinasabi nila, yung bahag ay hindi itinatali. Naka-extend yan pababa. Pero nung somewhere in their pagrampa, itinali nila yung bahag nila, then dami nilang actions. So, na-criticize ito ng ibang Cordillerans, ibang mga community ng mga Igoro's kasi hindi naman daw itinatali yung bahag na yan kung naka-extend yung bot sa likod at sa harap. Pero, ang choreographer nun ay isa ring Igorot. At ang sabi niya, yung konteksto ng kanyang pagrarampa lalangoy na sila sa tubig. Lalangoy sila. So kapag lalangoy sila, kailangan nilang ayusin yung bahag. So itinali nila para mas maganda yung kanilang paglangoy. So with that, the debate continues kung ano ba ang dapat gawin. So basta ang maganda dito, maraming ginagawa ang mga iba't ibang grupo para ilabas yung components ng culture, hindi lang yung language, kundi dances, clothings, and different components of culture. That's, I think, tingnan natin. And this is a continuing struggle or continuing process na lahat nagpa-participate.
Okay.
I hope.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thanks po. On top of that, no, so that's actually the perspective of the Igorot sir, no. How about on the perspective of the non-IPs? Kasi common observation in the cultural units of various institutions like colleges and state universities, more often during presentations like anong tawag ito? Intermission number or intermission performances, they would actually portray indigenous peoples, clothing, dances, but they are non-IPs. Do you see it as if disrespect or exploitation of their culture? Yung mga ganun po.
Nangyari yan, yung organization namin na isa, yung National Indigenous Coalition in Higher Education,
Yes,
one
po.
time in Manila, I think LPU, Lyceum of the Philippines, may grupo na nag-present sila ng banga dance ng Kalinga. But hindi sila taga Kalinga, taga Bulacan groups ang mga to. Ay
Yes, po.
isang artist circle. And
Yes.
yeah, perfectly nakuha nila yung except for one element na meron silang iwinagayway na clothing na kitang-kita ko mismo, hindi magandang clothing kasi clothing yun ng pangpatay. So okay na sila sa iba pero sa hindi. Now, ang okay ba 'yon? Excuse ba sila dahil cultural group sila? Noon pwede, pero sa ngayon talaga palaban ng mga yan Talagang maglalaban tayo hanggang sa NCIP, hanggang sa So ang diyan ng mga grupo kailangan magpaalam. Kailangan may explanation. Lalo na kung yung sarili nga namin nag-aaway-aaway kami. Lalo pa yung outsider na magpo-portray ng So kailangan magpaalam. I think kailangan. Delikado yan kasi baka pa nga sila. Alam niyo yung nangyari kay yung nangyari kay Wang Od sa Kalinga. Nagpaalam nga. Nagpaalam ha. Nagpaalam si sino ba yung vlogger na yon? Sinong vlogger na yon? Yung sa Facebook, yung vlogger na gustong gawing masterclass yung pagtatato ni Apo Wangod. Nagpaalam siya kay Apo Wangod pero hindi siya nagpaalam sa community.
That's really good.
Ang stand ng grupo diyan ng tribo at yung NCIP mali kasi dapat this is a culture and culture is not individual. Culture is group. So dapat magpaalam sa grupo hindi sa individual. Parang ganun. So medyo malalim na ang usapin ng kultura ngayon. Hindi na pwede yung interviewin mo o kaya hiramin mo, nagpaalam ka sa isang tao. Hindi, kailangan meron kang isang grupo na nagpaalaman.
So dami talagang insights na nakukuha from this one. No? So kapag pala may mga programs or mga projects na ganito, we should not be seeking permission only to an individual but rather collective kasi siya kasi culture is collective. Okay, noted po on that. Sir, mukha talagang na-arouse sila intellectually dito sa topic natin pero in the interest of time, we will just accommodate last two questions but
Yes, sir.
So that we could also proceed. No? Sir, one moment po. A question coming from a faculty member at St. Louis College. They said that they are also a proud individual who grew up in Mangkayan, Benguet. As an
Yes.
Igorot po, are you worried that that urbanization might affect the cultural preservation of Igorots 10 to 15 years from now?
So hindi lang urbanization, ang dami. Sabi nga nila pati ito, Pero hindi tayo nag-worry, sir. Kasi sabi nga natin, imbes na maganda naman yung project ng government, no? Imbes na mawala, talagang ini-embrace nila. Especially yung pag-create nila yung IPMR. I think that's a very powerful political structure na na-create kasi binigyan nga nila ng seat mula sa munisipyo hanggang sa board member, hanggang sa province, ang isang IP representative.
Yes.
So, kung sa Mangkayan halimbawa, Benguet, merong isang board member na IP. Sa Mangkayan, may mga sanggunian, magsesweldo ang mga yan, nagpa-participate sila sa deliberation, may sanggun councilor, di ba, part sila ng legislative body. So, we are not worried now kasi may mga in place yung mga structures natin. Actually, sabi ko, ang worried natin is yung parang nasosobra na tayo. Kasi sa amin, halimbawa, meron lang 4 na kilang grupo nun na mga indigenous peoples. Pero nung nagkaroon ng IPMR, naging 10. Naging 10 na. So lumabas yung marami. So hindi tayo nag-worry dyan kasi because of these structures and functions naman na ginagawa ng ating at least in that context meron tayong panlaban diyan. So every group now, every IP group now ay gumagawa ng kanilang structure para nga ma-establish nila na isa silang grupo and they could even yung pag-claim nila ng kanilang ancestral domain ay pinapayagan na talaga yan. So claim it. Kung meron kayong ancestral domain, ayusin nyo yung inyong record, magbuo kayo ng organization, and claim. Yun ang sinasabi lang NCIP under the national government program ng yun sa IP empowerment. Especially yung IPMR. Yun po, sir.
Ayan. Thank you so much. Sir, medyo may mga tanong po tayo dito, but is there a chance we could also reach you so that we could also give these questions? And talagang interesado po at ang ating mga participants regarding IP studies and particularly the Igorot po. Ayan.
Yes, sir. Open naman tayo dyan. And we are member naman ng ASET and we can always communicate even hindi sa mga ganitong webinar. Pwede naman.
Yes.
Mga conversations.
Mukhang magpa-part 2 ata. Gustong-gusto ang topic niya, sir. Anyway, sir, agyaman kami. Maraming salamat po for gracing also our events, for providing your expertise regarding the Igorots and of course, the IPs in general. At this juncture, to show our appreciation, may we also award your certificate of appreciation coming from the Association of Social Science Educators for Traditions and Treasures of the Philippines Incorporated or ASET Philippines. And we'll just show the certificate. Well, we are about to share our screen. Allow me to read the text of the certificate. So, ASET of the Philippines Incorporated, St. Louis College, City of San Fernando, La Union. The certificate of appreciation is proudly awarded to Dr. Kenneth Maslang for sharing his valuable time and expertise as a resource speaker in the national webinar organized with Association of Social Science Educators for Traditions and Treasures, or ASET of the Philippines Incorporated, in collaboration with the Kusina ng Talinghaga and the Social Science Department of St. Louis College, La Union, with the theme Unearthing a Glorious Past, a rediscovery of the Philippine national historical and cultural treasures, held on November 9 to 10, 2024. Given this 10th day of November 2024 via Zoom conference. Signed, Christopher F-MPA, Department Head of the Social Sciences Department of St. Louis College, Joseph M. Cristobal, President of ASET Incorporated. Once again, let's give a virtual clap to our speaker, Dr. Kenneth Maslang. Thank you so much po. Alright,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Alright, so since medyo mainit pa yung ating discussion, we are already aroused academically, intellectually with the presentations provided by Dr. Kenneth Maslang. Dire-diretso na po natin. Alright, so at this juncture, alright, moment please. Okay. At this juncture, we will have now our next speaker. So may we call on in the virtual floor Ms. Mary Grace O. Gallego, or Dr. Mary Grace O. Gallego, our business manager in Mindanao, and at the same time, the program chairperson of the Bachelor of Elementary Education at Sultan Kudarat State University, to introduce the next speaker. Dr. Gallego.
Good afternoon. Am I audible, Sir Ken?
Yes, madam. We can hear you well.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. My task this afternoon is to present to you our last guest speaker. Our speaker for this afternoon is an Assistant Professor 3 handling social science courses in the undergraduate level and graduate studies. He is a licensed professional teacher and has been in teaching since 2010. From private institution, Department of Education, and currently affiliated at Northeastern Mindanao State University, Tandag City Main Campus. He graduated Bachelor of Arts in History at Mindanao State University, Marawi City, and earned degrees in Masters in Science Teaching Social Sciences and Doctor of Education, Major Educational Management at Surigao del Sur State University. He is currently designated as a program chairperson of the Master of Arts in Social Science Teaching and also the research coordinator of the Department of Social Sciences. He also moves in general education courses, particularly the life and works of Rizal and readings in Philippine history under Mind Shapers in St. Andrew Publishing House. He received an Outstanding Research Award in 2022 for his publications in various international journals in the field of social science pedagogies. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Dr. Rael Christopher O. Plaza.
Hello everyone. Am I audible? Naririnig po ba ako?
Yep, apo.
Okay, so magandang hapon po sa ating lahat, no? Especially to our participants from Luzon. So our platform, no, is intended for our Luzon participants this Sunday. Now, so although some of my students in the graduate school were also accordingly present, kasi some of them were not available yesterday. So from Mindanao and Visayas yung kahapon. So let me share first my slides so that we can start our discussion. Okay, can you see now my slides? Makikita na ba natin yung slides ko? Okay, thank you so much. So, again, binabati ko lalong-lalo na yung mga participants natin dyan sa Luzon. So, kahit may konting sama ng panahon, no? Hindi lang talaga yung konti kasi bagyo yan. So, talagang we are still here and we're hoping that everyone is safe, no? Sa kahit may bagyo na nandyan, no, in our Luzon areas, no. So, I am also, of course, I will also greet some of my students around, no, sa masterands, no, particularly in the pedagogy of teaching social sciences, no. Merong participants tayo kasi nga some of them who were teachers also from the Department of Education and also from state universities and other private institutions were here with us, no. So kahit this is the platform is for Luzon, meron pa ring mga konti o mga iilan na hindi nakapasok or were not able to join us yesterday due to conflict of schedules. So binabati ko kayong lahat dyan. No? So my topic is more on pedagogical approaches. No? So although kanina I'm very sure that busog na busog tayo ng kaalaman sa context of historiography, no? Which is how to study local history, no, or generally how to assess an historical facts, no. So busog tayo ng kaalaman tungkol sa sa uh, uh, pagkilatis ng mga primary sources, secondary sources, even the applications of external and internal criticisms when we are going to on how to of course check the documents or reliability of our sources. And kanina pwede ngang ang dami-dami talagang mga tanong kay Dr. or Professor Maslang kasi definitely mga taga Luzon yung mga participants, so very relatable yung kanyang discussions particular for the igorots, no. So kahapon, although madami ding nagtatanong kay Professor Maslang kasi yun na nga no, hindi din masyadong knowledgeable yung mga taga Visayas at Mindanao regarding sa igorots. So iba din yung probably mga imaginations or mga impressions. So talagang we are very happy, we are very glad that we have this opportunity. No, we are very thankful to Asset Incorporation, no, Asset of the Philippines for giving us the chance for to have this venue. Now we can share our cultures, we can share our traditions from the different regions in the Philippines. So ito po yung isa sa objective ng organization na to. That's why tuwang-tuwa kami that with our President Dr. Joseph Cristobal talagang na itatag natin ang ating organisasyon, no. So Asset host also the purpose also of having these activities, no, para din especially sa mga social advocates and educators so that we can share our challenges experienced in our areas, and at the same time the best practices that we are executing or implementing in our social science classes, no. So sana maibahagi ako ng mga bago sa atin dito, no, is particularly for our of course participants na mga teachers then in the different agency in DepEd, in private schools, and even in some state universities, no, and as well as to our students, aspiring teachers, no, mga social science teachers. So I hope that marami tayong matutunan dito. And of course, kahit sa mga students natin in across other programs, no, kahit mga financial management or kahit mga engineering yung mga courses, definitely lahat ng mga pinag-uusapan natin dito are relevant into our lives, no, because this is our culture, this is our identity as Filipinos. So magkaiba man tayo ng mga groups or communities, but definitely we are one nation and we are all Filipinos, and that's how we love our nations, no, with diverse cultures, languages, and a lot of things na talagang mas ma-appreciate natin, no, ang ating pagiging Pilipino. So my topic is on the pedagogical approach in teaching history or social science courses. So I actually divided. Nag-move ba sa inyo yung slides ko? Okay, there, nag-move pala. So I actually divided my topics into two parts, no? So first part, I will be more focusing on the pedagogy, so features of pedagogy. And then sa second part is on the integration of local history. So bakit napakahalaga na isa dapat sa technique or isa sa style dapat in teaching social science courses, even nga hindi lang social science, kahit sa natural sciences, even sa mathematics, bakit mahalaga na i-integrate din yung local history, no? So we will dig deeper on that topic. So let's first talk about pedagogy, no. I have a simple diagram here to discuss to you pedagogy, no. Pedagogy is the art and science of teaching. So, the teaching is one of the most demanding profession, no? Napakadami niyang requirements if you are on the profession of teaching. So, hindi ka basta-basta papasok sa trabahong yan, sa profession na yan, kung hindi handa ang buong sarili mo sa bakbakan. Okay, so actually it requires a lot of our dedication, since in teaching, no, hindi pwede na ano lang, no, na hindi pwede na basta-basta lang yung ibibigay natin. So as much as possible, we really give even our energy, no, extra time to master your topics or your field, and at the same time, okay, always reviewing our teaching and learning processes. So hindi pwede na sa ngayong semester, hindi ibig sabihin na yung mga ginagamit nating mga uh, instructional materials are effective on the next semester. Kasi mo depende yon sa generation of learners. So mo depende yon sa panahon, okay? Sa industry, sa technology na ma-introduce din ng mundo. So it requires a lot, no? Kailangan na always willing and open-minded tayo na matuto kung anong mga bago. No? So that's one reason na it's important that we share our challenges and practices, no? Para progressive yung teaching natin, yung procedures natin, especially in the class, no? In the class. So in this diagram, so how do teachers teach, no? So ipapakita natin kung anong mga important factors na kailangan nating isipin, particularly in history or social science courses, no? So doon tayo magpo-focus kasi of course iba-ibang mga subjects or courses, iba-iba din yung paraan, no? So we have the academic freedom, but definitely, no, tinitingnan natin kung gaano to ka-effective, no, at anong influence nito sa academic performance ng mga estudyante natin. So first is we have to consider the characteristics of our learners. So before we start our classes, so it's important na talagang titingnan natin, ipo-profile natin yung mga learners natin. So we have to be observant kung anong mga interest ng mga kabataan. So if you are probably in the cities, in the poblations, no, so who is accessible on internet, no, or social media. So we need also to engage our learners to those platforms, to those resources. Kasi definitely, no, they will be looking for that para ma-motivate sila to really participate and involved in your classes. Even in our history classes, hindi pwede na isolated lang tayo sa four corners of the classroom. We have to engage into diverse methods, particularly in integrating technology. No? So what about if na-assign tayo sa mga remote areas, sa mga medyo malayo, mayroon talagang mga teachers na na-assign sa mga wala pang kuryenteng mga lugar. So we have also to, kahit na galing ka sa city na teacher, galing ka sa syudad na guro, hindi ibig sabihin na hindi ka mag-a-adjust. No? That's the one that is important. So of course, because of that constraints or limitations in the practice, so sometimes we really resort into being, of course, resourceful, no? Magiging resourceful tayo. We will employ localization and contextualize na mga materials or instructional materials para still, no, effective pa rin yung performance natin or effective yung teaching process natin for the positive learning performance of our students. So it's important that we know our learners, no? We will be effective if we know them, no? We know them. So kikilalanin, titingnan natin kung ano ang mga kapasidad, no? Capability ng mga estudyante natin. Kung magaling yan mag-vlog, integrate vlogging into your teaching methods, no? So magiging enjoyable and engaging, okay, yung procedure. Kasi yan na yung nakikita nila in their society. So that's one of the pedagogy. Kasi history is something na pwede nating ma-explore ng extensively. So in different methods. And we will be guided on those methods. Hindi naman pwede kung ano-anong methods lang. So tinitingnan din natin kung empirical yung paraan ng method na yan. Okay? And then of course, we'll look into the industry. So that's why we have to learn, no, how our society and our industry evolves. So Kaya we should be also knowledgeable about industrial revolution. So meron yan, no? Industrial Revolution 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and this time we are already on the Industrial Revolution 5.0. No? So yung response din natin yan, merong response, no? When we were in the Industrial Revolution 4.0 or fire, that was before the pandemic. So our response is, we called it Education 4.0. And this time, definitely, we will also respond to the demands of times of our generation, which is Education 5.0. So if AI is already existing, then teachers and students has to be literate on artificial intelligence, no? So we already employ it. We cannot avoid to this technology because it's available, no? So ang pinaka mabuting gawin is para hindi maabuso, hindi din maging addictive yung mga learners natin. So we should regulate it at the same time. Yun yung fresh na mga problems na na-encounter ng academe this time, to regulate artificial intelligence. So para hindi din addictive, okay? Or hindi dependent yung mga, lahat tayo, kahit teachers, no? Some of us, kung hindi natin nakukontrol, baka doon na tayo nagpapagawa lahat ng mga lesson plan or mga activities natin sa AI. So hindi naman din pwede yun. We can only use it as our references, but not necessarily to do our job. We're not anymore functioning in that way. So dapat we know how to regulate, we know how to protect our academic integrity with the influx of this very sophisticated technology that we have. So those are some factors na kailangan natin talagang tingnan mabuti. Okay, bago tayo, of course, gagawa ng mga methods or paano tayo magpaplano ng approach or strategies for learning. So in teaching, in this diagram, in the first box, in this blue-green box, no, we have here the principles of teaching. So I indicated here the methods, the approaches, the strategies, the theories, the models. So definitely these are our tools, no? We can consider these our tools, our guide, okay, on the teaching process. So these are for the teachers, for the aspiring teachers, no? Kailangan nating i-review yan. Kasi especially yung mga I've seen here, mga BE Ed students were also with us. So ibig sabihin maraming mga aspiring teachers din dito, no? So alam natin na yung mga concepts na yan are actually really mga relevant concepts in teaching, no, na lalabas yan sa board exam natin. So when we talked about principles of teaching, so such as mga by encouraging our learners into active encourage active learning. So especially there should be an interaction, positive interaction between the teachers and the learners, no? Yung respect on diversity, no? And diverse talents and diverse interest of our learners, no? So kailangan those principles are actually unrefutable. So hindi na natin yung pwedeng i-refute kasi talagang prinsipyo yun ng teaching. No, so that's the reason also, that's the basis that it is important for us to really employ methods such as differentiated instructions, kasi hindi pwede na ano lang tayo sa iisang method lang tayo. Kawawa naman yung ibang mga estudyante na hindi skillful on that particular method. No, that's why teachers has also to employ differentiated instructions, no? And then some methods like group learning, and even in history, so there are methods na we call it expeditionary learning. So in this way, okay, we can actually assign our students for some research activities or case studies or even field trips. So right now, medyo, of course, we can really say na medyo expensive pag field trip, no? Pero it's one, before, when I was college, talagang very effective yan. So hopefully na kahit sa mga local areas lang natin, makakapag-field trip tayo. In social sciences, like for me, in my archaeology class before, talagang pina-experience kami pumasok ng kuweba. Kasi how can we really appreciate the cave kung hindi namin mapuntahan, hindi kami pumunta talaga doon. So those are in our, I think it's in anthropology classes namin before. And then when I was in MSU that time, so we really went to the Pitan to visit the yung kay Rizal, yung ano niya doon, yung bahay niya doon. So yung mga ano na yan, no, mga opportunities na yan para mas ma-appreciate no ng mga students or learners natin ang mga lessons natin. No? So ganyang mga ano ng mga activities. Pero of course, nag-upgrade na tayo kasi merong technology na tayo, so we have also other options. So this time kung masyadong ano yan, masyadong expensive yung mga methods na yan, so we can of course integrate technology by showing some documentations. It's already available. Yung one of our speaker yesterday was Professor Chua, no? So yung mga vlogs niya pinakita din niya sa mga participants yesterday. So talagang mas ma-appreciate ng mga estudyante natin kung merong mga documentaries, mismo siya yung nagpa-facilitate doon or siya yung nag-anchor ng kanyang topic no on that documentary. So right now marami na tayong options. Okay, especially in the pedagogy, no? So marami kahit game-based learning or methods, no? Maraming games na pwede nating i-execute in our classes para mas masaya, no? So we've seen mga vlogger na mga teachers, no? At talagang ang daming mga innovations para lang maging interactive at saka effective yung learning natin. Okay? So we have to make sure that these teaching processes are really effective. So in pedagogy, kailangan empirical yung result. Kaya from time to time, we really do pre-test and post-test. So para ma-test kung yung mga methods or approaches na ginagamit natin in teaching are really effective. Hindi pwede na sasabihin mo lang, yeah, effective yan. So there's really a study or a data that will prove that particular method or approach or strategy is effective. And that is actually one of our job in master's degree. So yung ini-explore particularly in Masters of Arts in Social Science Teaching. So it's really in exploring mga emerging innovative teaching approaches, no? So isa yan sa mga tinitingnan nating mabuti, tapos tinitest yan. Kaya some of the studies that we have here or yung mga thesis ng mga masterants natin ay talagang experimental to really look into the influence of this particular teaching approaches or teaching methods into the class, no, for the learners, no, kung paano ito nakaka-influence ng learning performance nila. So yan yung mga tinitingnan natin or objective natin sa program in the graduate school, no. So sinisiguro na marami tayong options, marami tayong mga paraan para mas maging interesting pa yung social science na mga subjects natin, particularly history, na palagi tayong nakakarinig na history is boring. So I don't think that boring yung subject kung may appropriate, may suitable na mga method na ginagamit. Okay? So and then today, we will delve into those things, no, para mas ma-avoid natin yung mga incidents na yan. So para our goal here is really to make sure na fun, inspiring, motivating ang mga learning natin experience in teaching, no? So of course, we have to make sure na yung mga activities natin, mga ginagawa natin sa class are smart, no? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bounded. Kahit research activities, mga historical researches, smart dapat yan. Hindi pwede na yun lang yun. Okay? Meron talagang final defense ng mga researches para mas makita natin yung relevance ng mga activities na ginagawa natin sa klase. Okay? So, paano natin ma-notice na our teaching learning process is really successful? Ito yung, of course, result, outcome ng mga important or relevant na outcome kung magiging successful or nagiging successful yung teaching and learning process in our class, no? So first we should able to meet the target competencies of the courses or the subjects. So later titingnan natin anong kadalasang competency o anong mga kailangan nating ma-target. Okay, anong goal na dapat na ma-hit ng ating mga lessons, no? Hindi pwede na basta na lang natin na parang pini-present or parang nagnanarrate lang tayo ng mga stories in the past. Of course, meron tayong goal. Bakit binabalikan natin yung mga past events? So, yan ay makikita sa mga learning competencies ng mga subjects natin. Of course, successful ang teaching and learning process if we able to uncover hidden talents of the learners, no? So, kasi in every activities that we have, no, meron din tayong mga nai-explore na mga iba't ibang mga talents, no, ng mga learners natin. Like for example, when I was still in DepEd before, so when I was teaching world history subject, kabihas na ng yung kasaysayan ng daigdig. So nakita ko sa aklat na masyadong mahaba yung mga kabihasnan, no? May kabihasnan ng Asia, kabihasnan ng China, Mesopotamia, India, okay, hanggang doon sa Roma, sa Greece, no? So of course, ang masyadong malawak kahit doon sa Amerika, no, yung mga Inca, Aztecs, no? So tinatalaka 'yon. Sabi ko, paano ko ba ito magawa na hindi ako masyadong gugugol ng maraming oras. So of course, I designed an activity that was a gallery, no? So parang gallery walk. So I actually grouped my students, involved all of my Aralin Panlipunan students in the world history, no, sa kasaysayan ng daigdig, no. I divided them into group. Tapos bawat isa sa mga grupo na yun, meron silang assigned na kabihasnan. That activity was successful kasi lahat ang nangyari parang naging social studies festival. Kasi we were the other grade levels really supported our activity kasi naging interesting. Kasi exciting kung papasok ka sa India, ano kayang nandoon pala, no? Naka-costume ng mga Indians yung mga estudyante ko that time. So parang okay, in that way, so mas na mas na maximize ko yung oras ko at the same time I able to hone some hidden talents ng mga estudyante ko doon kasi yun na nga, no, meron akong estudyante that time na organizer na siya ng mga events this time. Sabi ko, I never thought na ganito ka pala kagaling mag-organize ng mga events, sa mga festivals, no, sa mga fiesta. Sabi niya na, actually sir, mas na-inspire ako nung activities natin sa Aralin Panlipunan. Ako kasi yung bida-bida doon. So I was able to get the chance na talagang mag-encourage sa mga groupmates ko na ganito ang gawin para mas maganda yung presentations namin. And but that time, we actually had parang fundraising activity din yun, yung activity na yun. Kasi parang nagpapatiket kami ng 5 or 10 pesos lang yung namin, yung ticket namin, bago ka makapasok ng kabihasnan na yun, of course, you will buy a ticket. So kung 5 yung kabihasnan na papasukan mo, so medyo marami yung sales namin. Our project was world maps and world globe, no? Kasi wala kaming ganung mga instructional materials in our school. So aside from maganda yung of course, I believe that particular method really helps me as a teacher na ma-maximize ko yung oras ko sa world history class ko na hindi limited lang doon sa discussions or narrations of what really happens in the past. So I involve my students on that activity. Aside from that, we able to raise fund. Okay? So yun yung mga some examples, no? And our students were able to really participate and get involved on the process of learning. So hindi nila makakalimutan yung mga activities na yun kasi involved sila. So yan ang isa sa mga mga best practices na pwede nating i-share din into different teachers across the country kung effective din sa kanilang mga class yung ganong mga activity. So, of course, successful ang teaching and learning process if we're able to hone and improve their skills. So, yun na. Ang daming skills na ma-develop doon. Okay, yung pag-organize lang ng activity, yung of course by yung pag-negotiate ng kung anong mga, especially with your classmates, kung anong gagamitin, o anong gagawin, okay? Paano mag-ask ng permissions, kung gagamitin yung mga resources na yan. So, we can able to really encourage students na maging mas confident in their learning, and of course mold ideal principles and character of learners kasi sa social science courses yun yung yun yung pinakamahalagang responsibility ng mga social science educators, tayong nag-guide ng mga character ng mga learners natin. So we are not only honing their intelligence but even their heart, so we as much as possible we intervene with their decision on how they will going to, of course, to come up with decisions based on the ideas that they learn from us in dealing with the different social problems in our society kasi yun yung coverage ng social science courses and in history. So yung relevance ng mga lessons natin, malaki yung matututunan ng mga learners on how to decide on their future, how to react on the different situations na ma-encounter din nila sa mga buhay nila. Okay? So like for example, so kino-contextualize ko kasi yung mga yung mga lessons ko din while discussing about Rizal, sa Rizal na klasiko. So sisingit talaga ako ng mga personal na mga activities, like I asked my learners to check their personal heroes. So although we acknowledge Rizal as our national hero, walang batas diyan pero we acknowledge him, Filipinos, pero mas connected kung nagpapa-explore din ako kung sino din ang mga personal heroes ng mga learners, so mas nakikita nila ang bigat ng mga sacrifices ng mga pinili or mga ina-acknowledge din nilang hero in their present lives. So ganun. So in that part, nurture mo yung IQ, okay, which is the IQ is the intelligence quotient, yung EQ ng mga learners, yung emotional quotients, yung SQ, yung social quotient. So paano makipaghalubilo sa mga tao? Yung mga learners natin dapat marunong talaga on how to really interact with people with different characteristics, hindi tayo dapat matakot. So and then AQ, adversity quotients, mga problema sa buhay. So those things, so napakahalaga na matouch natin yung mga areas na yan, particularly in social science courses or in history. So tinitingnan natin yung influence din natin doon, okay, sa mga estudyante. That's why to our learners here, huwag kayong mabigla bakit ang daming activities sa history or mga social science courses. Kasi we're not just mindful of the method that we're using, or we are not just mindful sa lesson lang, no? Actually, we are also trying our best na ma-encourage kayo na uh, ma, ma, mag, ma-encourage kayo na ilabas kung anong merong skills or merong talents kayo dyan, no? So, go out from your shell, no? So yun yung yung isa natin. So like me, when I was in MSU, when I was college, doon ako na no, doon ako mas na-expose, no, na ay ganito pala, meron pala akong ganitong talent or ganitong kapasidad. Kung hindi siguro very diverse din yung mga activities na binibigay sa amin ng mga professors or instructors namin before. So, hindi din kami mamumold into who we are today. So, like the same thing with you learners of especially in social science courses this time. So, I hope na maintindihan ninyo kung bakit ganito ang lahat ng mga activities na meron tayo sa mga history courses ninyo, no? So, prepares our students to their brighter future and ultimately to shape learners to become functional citizens. So, at the end of the day, we will really emphasize na bawat isa sa atin ay merong role, merong purpose, merong responsibility na bawat isa sa atin. Okay, we have a unique identity, no? We have an important part in the community, particularly in community building, no? So hindi pwede na ikaw na learner na left behind ka, lahat ay sabay-sabay na matututo, no? So lahat ay merong silbi, no? And hopefully positive yung impact ng ng isang learner sa kanyang community. Kahit hindi pa nag-graduate, so we have our role in every society, no? So, to become functional citizens in the future, no, hindi magiging problema ng bayan, kundi lahat nakakatulong para sa paglago ng bayan. Okay, so now we will proceed to the second part of my discussions, which is integration of local history. So, ito yung isa sa paraan para mas relatable ang discussions of history, no? In integrating local history or local events or local happenings. Okay, kanina as I was listening to also to Professor Maslang discussions, no, talagang madaming magtatanong kasi yung participants natin is from Luzon, okay? Igorots are from Luzon. So nagiging very relatable yung topic kasi marami sa atin o marami sa mga participants were part of the community, Igorot communities or indigenous communities. Kung hindi man, this community were your neighbors, no? So importante na alam natin yung neighbors natin para maganda yung samahan ng isang community. So see, no, kung gaano ka importante na talagang i-integrate isama ang mga local happenings, events, and local history into teaching history, into teaching social science courses, and even natural sciences courses, kahit sa math, okay? Even in economics, no? Huwag kang mag-discuss ng inflation na yung example mo is dun sa Maynila. Okay, dito sa lugar mo, yung inflation, titingnan mo kung talagang nagmamahal ba yung gulay, okay? Kung sa lugar mo, baka sa lugar lang nila. Okay, kasi wala silang tanim na kamatis doon. O dito sa amin, maraming tanim, mga gulay. So bakit magmamahal? Minsan nga, hinihingi lang namin sa kapitbahay namin yung like for example, kung anong may gulay doon kasi ang dami-dami. Minsan binibigay na yan, mga mangga. Okay, but in cities, hindi yung pwede. Okay? Iba yung situations nila doon sa Maynila, hindi pwede yung free ng mga pagkain. Now, when I went there, no, nag-work din ako sa Maynila, talagang iba, no? Iba yung sitwasyon. So, that's the reason why I really appreciate my hometown, my province, because I experienced living also in Manila for a few years, for few months. Hindi pala ako nag-year doon, few months. But because of that experience, I was able to appreciate more of my place, no? So ang ganda pala talaga ng lugar ko. So anyway, that's our personal perspectives on those things, no? So the advocacy of integrating local history in social science teaching is a significant movement in the context of pedagogy. So our curriculum in the social sciences field is now on the process of recalibration. We are now trying to redirect our approach in teaching history courses. It is not anymore merely narrations, parroting of informations, or presentations of chronological past events. So, nag-evolve na, nag-recalibrate na yung curriculum. Okay? So before, when I can remember, no, our teachers, our professors before, ang way of teaching of history is really chronological, from pre-colonial, Spanish period, then American period, then Japanese occupation. So talagang chronological. So this time, as you can observe, hindi na. More on the context of historiography. Kasi iba na din yung demand ng panahon ngayon. Like for example, we can, the RITH, talagang ang mga learning competency dyan is on how our students learn to examine the primary sources, examine the information. No, hindi pwede na before wala namang ganyan. Inanarrate lang kung anong mga nasa kasulat sa book, then binidiscuss, ina-expound yan. But this time, hindi lang babasahin. Okay? Tinitingnan, ini-examine kung tama ba yung binabasa mong informations. Because we are in the information age. We are in social media age. So, ang nangyayari, we are all vulnerable into fake informations, no? Mga distorted na mga information. So, ang mga students this time, so kailangan they will be capacitated with such skills na hindi sila basta-basta naluloko. Ang dami ng naluloko ngayon because of of course, marami ding mga criminal-minded na magmamanipulate sa mga tao. Kahit sa informations, nakakabahala. Kahit nga pirma ng presidente ng bansa na minsan na nakukopya. So there was an instance na ang daming na biktima na akala ng marami na holiday. Ayun pala, hindi naman pala yun holiday talaga. So even some of our teachers send it to our GC na, ay holiday pala. Yung pala, yung document na yun is hindi yun totoong document na galing sa Malacanang. So see, even that piece of paper na napakahalaga could torment or could cause chaos in the society. So yung learning competency is really higher na. So dapat alam na natin i-examine yung informations. Hindi mo basta-basta nabasa mo tapos i-ano mo kaagad, no? I-share mo kaagad dun sa GC. It's not like that. No, you really have to check first before mag-share ka. No, sino ba yung nag-send? Ang nag-send ba is an appropriate person? Or yung nag-send, kahit friend mo, yung nag-send, siya ba ay nakuha ba niya yung correct na information galing doon sa talagang genuine or reliable na tao for that particular na matter, no? So yun, kung authority ba yung nag-send ng information. So yan. So we are now on the time where parang nagde-decolonize na tayo. So in fact, hindi ako naka-attend, pero merong isang conference na nangyari din dito sa region namin na it's on decolonialization. So parang it's not anymore our ideas, our mindset dapat hindi na influenced by foreign knowledge, no? So kailangan mismo tayo na yung nag-discover, nag-uncover kung anong meron din tayo. So it's time now na we can go back to our community. So later, we'll discuss that, no, kung anong pwede nating i-uncover at gawa ng local history, no? Gawa ng historical research na mas relatable, mas makakapagbigay connection or interest among our learners in social science courses or in history classes. No? So history courses were now expected to deliver the following learning competencies. Kaya nag-share ako kanina ng maraming activities na ginagawa ko o pwede ding gawin ninyo or for sure meron din kayong mga ginagawa na hindi pa namin ina-apply sa amin. So that's the reason why it's important that we share kasi baka effective din yung mga strategies, mga approaches na ini-employ doon sa mga universities ninyo, no? So like for example, the following learning competencies are demonstrate critical, analytical, and creative thinking. So yan, kaya nagre-review na tayo, nagko-contextualize analysis na tayo ng mga primary documents, no? Kahit yung yung mga documents during the revolutions. Of course, tinitingnan natin kung primary ba or baka secondary yung source na yan or kanino o sino talaga yung saan nanggaling yung document na yun. So, kino-contextualize analysis natin. And then, of course, as much as possible, after the discussions, after analyzing it, we will relate this work into the present time natin. Anong skill din ang nadidevelop dyan? Of course, critical and analytical skill. Okay, kasi pag of course, nagtrabaho na kayo, yun din yung gagawin natin. It's important that you have an analytical, critical, and creative thinking skills. No? So yun yung mga target. And remember, hindi na pwede sa Blooms, hindi lang pwede na memorize mo, na ma-identify mo, kailangan na-analyze mo. Kasi the AI this time could memorize, could tell, could give you a lot of informations at instant. Pero the weakness of AI, it cannot analyze basta-basta na in relation to your context doon sa community or even into your life. So yun yung weakness din ng AI. Pero AI is also evolving, remember, no? So we have to make sure na hindi tayo basta-basta mapapalitan ng artificial intelligence, no? That's why we are also upgrading our learning competencies. No, appreciate the complexity of the human condition. So if we are conducting research, historical research activities, no, nakakapunta ka sa iba't ibang mga society or communities, na doon mo ma-appreciate yung complexity ng human conditions, no? Doon mo ito ma-realize na mga competencies, no? Interpret the human experience from various perspectives. Take responsibility for knowing and being a Filipino. So, we have to make sure na alam natin or we have to reiterate our responsibility na kailangan alam natin yung identity natin as a Filipino or as part of the community. So, walang ibang makakagawa niyan kundi ikaw lang, no? So, ang lungkot kung hindi mo alam kung anong meron kayo sa community mo. No? So, like for example, when we had our visitors from Manila, so we had an accreditor from Manila and then so happened na ako yung isa sa nag-escort. Then she was asking a lot about our province. And of course, kung wala kang maikwento, yung kasama ko wala masyadong maikwento. So, of course, kung wala kang maikwento, hindi mo ma-encourage or ma-advertise kung anong meron kayo dun sa province ninyo. Kawawa naman. Sad to say, baka sasabihin na, yung napuntahan namin doon parang napaka-remote na area. Wala man lang mga interesting things. Okay? So, buti na lang, we have lots of, di ba, local na mga knowledge regarding our province. So, like for example, local spots, no? And even our people. So doon sila namangha na, very interesting, very nice na puntahan talaga yung region, yung Caraga region. Punta kayo dito sa Siargao. Okay? Isa sa pinaka in our region, no? It's not in our province, it's in other province, but it's very near in our place, no? Marami kami ditong mga interesting places na pwedeng gawa ng, of course, local history and nagiging interesting yung klase namin, okay? Especially when like for example, rampant yung mining dito sa amin din, no? Sa area namin. So, instead na pupunta pa ako ng ibang mga lugar to give examples, why not on our situations about our mining industry in our place, no? So yun, mas marami silang, ang learners ay maraming masasabi or share because that's their community. They are really seeing it, no? So mismo sila mga witness sila, eyewitness on what is going on in their society. So why go far on our discussion? So isa to sa napakahalagang mga competency na kailangan in teaching social science courses, no? Reflect critical on shared concerns, lalong-lalo na ang dami nating mga concerns this time in our society. So of course, ang mga learners natin, they should also realize their role, kung paano din tayo makakapag-contribute. Kahit, like for example, nasa Mindanao kami, and then mga pangyayari dun sa Luzon, then we can, of course, critically think of how we can also contribute, no, on what is on the problems that being faced by our kababayan in the different areas of our country, no? Generate innovative practices and solutions guided by ethical standards, no? Make decisions based on moral norms and imperatives. Advocate respect for human rights. Contribute personally and meaningfully to the country's development. Work effectively in a group. That's why group activities is very common in the class. Kasi isa yan sa learning competency. This is based on the CHED Memorandum Order, no, sa mga check courses. So, kinuha ko yung mga sa social science na suitable. Okay, kasi may mga din na suitable doon sa language or suitable doon sa math, sa mathematics in the modern world. Ito is on the social science courses, and this is evident in our syllabus kasi tinitingnan natin kung paano natin ma-hit yung objective na to, paano ma-meet yung mga goals na yan for the following competencies, no? Create solutions to the problems in various fields and manage one's knowledge, skills, and values for responsible and productive living. So these are guides, no? Para ang lahat ng mga learning competencies na to din, magiging basis yan doon sa mga assessment and activities ng mga teachers, no? Kasi yun yung target namin, expected namin na outcome, expected na lalabas yan sa mga exams, no? Or sa mga activities na kailangan makita namin. Kasi yung objective type, of course, ma-measure lang naman yan. Of course, we can count the scores and the objective types. Pero sa subjective, we are also creating our rubrics to be fair in assessing the performance of our students. So that's pedagogical na mga practices, no? So local history is the study of everyday struggles and triumphs of ordinary people. It reflects the reality that our lives are shaped by particular places, which is a major determinant how our lives live. No? So kanina, talagang we are participative. Marami tayong tanong kay Professor Maslang. It's because Professor Maslang is telling us about the Igorots. These are people, ordinary people. No? So, and then we can see them, our neighbors, or if it is not our family, then it's our neighbors, no? So that's local history. No? Hindi din ma-appreciate natin mabuti yung national na context kung hindi natin muna alam kung anong nasa paligid natin. No, dito sa amin mga mamanwas din. Okay, may mga derogatory na mga mga derogative terms na ginagamit, okay, which sadly, no, concerns na di-discriminate din yung mga namin dito, mga indigenous communities like the Manobo. Sa Mamanwas, may derogative term na pongking. So that is not good. So talagang common pa yan kahit sa mga elementary na may doon, may, like for example, may dumaan mga ganito. So they are not supposed to be called on that term kasi that is derogative or that's discriminating. So i-educate talaga yung mga estudyante natin. No, you cannot do that, no? So even the badjaws were also present in our areas, no? So dito sa amin, so talagang nagbe-beg sila. So we ng mga beggars sila, no? So we also try to to explain to our learners kung how or what kind of community they have, no? So paano din in-action na ng government yung mga situations ng mga groups na ito. So we cannot neglect their existence in our society. So yun, if these topics will be discussed during our classes here in our university, relatable, maraming interesadong makinig. Kasi these are happenings in our area, no? Involving students in local history helps them to learn to analyze their place in larger events. By understanding their part in history, people become directly involved in their studies of the past. The study of local topics allows for in-depth research to connect the past with the present, which is done more simply and with more meaning than studying the national faceless masses. So yun, mas relatable, mas makakapag-connect tayo sa mga istorya na nangyayari sa ating paligid. No, local history allows for greater depth in studying the history of our communities and the relations to the people within them. Okay, so why is this important? So the bigger picture, like national or global context of historical discussions, might not be so relatable to the new gen learners. This is a form of superficial history which allows historians or social science educators to develop a pattern of conclusions without deeper engagement with local history in a comparative context. So, ayaw natin na yung mga discussions natin in the class are considered superficial lang. Kasi yun na nga, kulang ng connection, no? So local history can provide curiosity, give opportunities to study something in depth, help students see the big picture by looking at the local first, and vice versa. Help students to challenge generalizations. So yun, okay? Kasi hindi lahat ng mga pangyayari ma-generalize natin, no? So that might be different in our area and that might also different in your areas, particularly na archipelago yung ating country. So hindi mo ma-generalize. Yun na nga yung yung sample ko ng, like for example, dun sa economics na mga topics, yung sa inflation. So hindi pwedeng ma-generalize yung mga pangyayari doon sa Maynila dito din. So in fact, sometimes kami, wala namang kaming ganung mga train na nasisira, wala namang ganun dito. So hindi makarelate yung mga estudyante sa mga NLEX, sa mga ano na yan, no? Mga MRT, LRT dyan sa lugar na yan. So that's why, okay, para mas makakaunawa yung mga learners namin, we discuss what is in available in our area, unless if it's really necessary. And hindi na din naman yan impossible na pwede nating maipakita sa kanila. Okay, kung yung mga experiences dun sa syudad, because we have technology right now, but mas relatable pa rin kung anong mga pangyayari dito sa communities, no, sa sariling community, no. Local history knowledge informs our students of political, social, economic, and cultural aspects of their communities. Like for example, we have different opinions or perspectives on the war of drugs of Duterte's administration. Sa Mindanao, definitely iba yung perception ng mga tao dito. Okay, iba yung impression. So, kaysa doon sa Luzon. Okay, in different communities, makikita mo talaga kung na-appreciate ba nila yung programa na yun. May patayan bang nangyayari in our areas or nakita ba namin yung mga pagbabago? Okay, naramdaman namin na yung mga nahuli ay talaga bang mga totoong mga drug mga drug involved na mga na mga criminals, no? So yun, iba-iba tayo ng appreciations. It's because we are from different places, and then mas nagiging relevant if kung anong nangyayari in our society, not in general not necessarily always in general impression. So yun yung uh, kaibahan if we integrate local history. So this to ensure that students are aware that the history they are studying had an impact on people in their respective community. So we have to make sure that at the end of the day, kung nagtutok tayo ng masyadong luma na ng mga narratives, we have to make sure to really discuss the importance or the relevance of that context into the present time. Kasi lalong-lalo na kung hindi major ng history or social science, hindi nila yan basta-basta ma-appreciate. And if they cannot appreciate it, definitely low yung learning performance ng mga estudyante. So, it is important that learners demonstrate nationalism, patriotism, sense of community, pride of one's identity, and love of democracy. That we need to appreciate that social science, for the purpose of social sciences and on these things, no, para mas maipakita natin na napaka-importanting mahalin ng sarili nating bansa, no? It's the spirit of nationalism and patriotism. And sino ba ang magtutulungan para sa bansang Pilipinas kundi ang mga Pilipino rin. So we have to convince as much as possible and remind our learners of our responsibility as citizens of this country, no? And these are some interesting local history agenda na pwede nating gawa ng mga pag-aaral. So, like for example, in my history classes, sabi ko nga sa RIPH ko, so last semester, kasi Rizal yung mga hinahandle ko this time. So, sa undergrad, no? So, Rizal. And then sa last semester, mga RIPH yung hinahandle ko. Actually, dalawa, no? Rizal and RIPH in the undergrad. So sa RIPH, isa sa final requirement ko talaga is yung historical research ng mga estudyante. And of course, ito yung tungkol sa most of the time local history or local happenings in our areas, no? Kasi ini-established pa din yung ibang mga findings ng mga researches na yon. So like for example, creation of your barangay, municipality, cities or province. Kami dito, young pa yung city namin pero yun na nga. Okay, young pero masyadong luma na yung lugar. So paano nagsimula? Okay, how it become a city, no? And then mga old na din yung meron kaming mga remnants dito na talagang these cities or these places were important ng mga or significant landmarks ng mga old Spanish communities before dito sa aming area. Okay, so like my hometown in Cantilan, so we called it the cradle of towns. Kasi before, ang Carcan Madcarlan, okay, which is right now divided na into municipalities. Before, isang Cantilan lang yan. Parang barangay lang ng Cantilan yung Carrascal, barangay lang ng Cantilan yung Madrid, yung Lanuza. But this time, municipality na rin yung ibang mga lugar na yan. Okay, so how it turns into like that and why Cantilan becomes the cradle of towns. Okay, ganun din ang Tandag City, no? What makes Tandag City strategic, okay, to the Spaniards before. Okay, and so of course it's near the coast, so ganun, no? Makikita natin yung strategic na mga reasons why nagkaroon ng community dito, no? Sa mga areas namin. So yung mga estudyante na mamangha after their historical research when they are defending their historical researches, actually sir, yan yung isa sa pinaka na-appreciate ko sa study namin. And finally nalaman ko na diyan pala galing ang creation ng municipality namin. So meron palang malaking industry diyan na ngayon wala na. So ganyan. So they become involved. Okay, because this time it's not anymore sabi ko nga, hindi na katulad before na narratology o chronological events in the past. But this time, our students in RIPH were encouraged to do researches as well. No, sila na mismo yung mag-apply. Parang nagiging junior historians na din sila kasi of course by doing research activities, they're at the same time examining their sources. Kasi baka naman yung informant nila hindi yun yung authority na magbigay ng information. So of course, magiging local historian kung you are also employing right methodology. Kasi kailangan dadaan sa mga procedures. Hindi basta-basta pupunta ka sa isang community tapos wala kang structured na interview questionnaire, validated ba yan or na ano ba yan, check ba yan ng mga experts, and then at the same time you consider a lot, no, mga ethical consideration. You have to ask permission to the barangay before you enter on their community. So it's like that, no? So na-appreciate ko yun. Ang mga estudyante ko talagang nagiging wala silang magawa kundi execute yung mga procedures na yun kasi that's part, no, magiging invalid yung findings kung hindi dumaan sa saktong methodology, no. And in some areas in some agenda, no, pwede yung local festivals ng mga lugar natin in our area here. Like for example, in Cantilan, it's Sirong Festival. In Tandag, it's Sangkaan Festival. In Kaliguan Festival naman yung sa Caguay. So ang daming festival. So paano nagsimula at anong mga hugot ng mga festivals na yan? Okay, so that's one thing, no? Para sa ano yan? So like for example in Cantilan, Sirong, because there were some, like for example, may mga tulisan daw before na kadalasan branded ng mga tulisan before were mga Moros in the other sides of our region. So yun, parang may mga executions bago magsimula yung presentation. So napaka-historical, no? And then, yun na nga, the community defended their territories, no? So ganun, no? And even yung mga terminology sa mga barangay namin, bakit linintian ang tawag sa barangay namin o ng area na yun? Kasi daw palaging bumabagyo doon at doon nag-strike yung mga kidlat, linti kasi yung kidlat sa amin. Okay, linti. So, sabi ko kaya pala. Tapos bakit magusilong naman dito sa kabila? Kasi yung lugar namin, dun sa barangay namin, dun pumupunta yung mga tao para sumilong. Kaya naging magusilong. So, ang dun ko yan na natutunan dun sa mga local historical research dito sa aming lugar. So, very fun. Mas maunawaan mo kung anong mga storya ng mga bagay-bagay sa iyong paligid, no? Local tourist spots dito sa area namin ang dami din. Okay? So, like Enchanted River, bakit enchanted 'yan? O bakit may mga magical ba yung mga isda na kasi daw bawal hulihin. Okay, may mga ritual doon. Okay, you cannot actually disturb the place, no? So, may mga ritual at sikat na sikat yan kasi yun na nga, okay, madaming mga foreign or kahit mga local tourists na pumupunta doon. And they were so curious of what makes that river enchanted. No? And then, of course, marami pang mga pwedeng mapuntahan ng mga beach, okay, dito kasi ang daming mga kasi dito sa Surigao do Sur, talagang yung ma-appreciate mo dito as yung beach, no? Parang sa La Union din, no? Pero of course, iba-iba tayo ng ng mga sabihin nating mga activities na nandun available kasi medyo malayo yung sa amin. So talagang parang natural pa yung ibang mga namin na hindi pa masyadong crowded. Okay? So talagang maa-appreciate mo kasi konti pa yung nakaka-explore din ng ibang mga areas, no? So but little by little napupuntahan na rin ng mga ibang mga turista. So minsan yung pumupunta ng Siargao, bumibisita din dito sa mga areas namin. Okay? Especially sa dito sa area namin. Meron nga kaming tourist spot na yung sa Cortez na Laswitan. O pag pupunta ka doon, maganda yung experience doon pag masama ang panahon. Huwag kang pupunta doon kung hindi masama ang panahon. Kasi wala kang puro bato lang yung makikita mo. Pero kung masama ang panahon, ano mo na, ay may low pressure, so punta kayo ng Lasuitan kasi ma-appreciate mo yung ano ng tubig. Last week meaning pa yung pag ano ng tubig, no? Pag ano yung sa Tagalog, basta yung paglabas ng tubig doon sa galing sa mga bato. So very amazing, very nice, no? So i-search nyo na lang, okay? Para mas ma-visualize niyo kung anong nangyayari sa Lasuitan, no? Kasi nandiyan na yan sa Facebook. And of course, mga indigenous communities, pwede mo yung pag-aralan. Meron talaga kaming mga indigenous communities sa mga Manuas, may mga village talaga sila na pwedeng puntahan. But of course, sabi nga ni Professor Maslang, hindi ka pwedeng basta ka na lang pumunta doon. You really have to ask permissions as well. No, at mga religious mga groups, no, sa Davrisol, yung mga dito, mga wood na carving na mga napaka-classic ng mga woods ay galing dun sa areas na yan, no? Pero of course, hindi na yun minsan napupunta dyan sa Luzon kasi pinagbabawal, dinidiscourage na yan sa market kasi of course, it affects our forest. Pero dito sa area namin, talagang maraming mga magagandang mga designs na ang isang community lang yung talagang nagko-concentrate sa mga na yan, mga sabihin nating mga materials or furnitures, no? Mga furnitures na yan in their place, no? So local beliefs, traditions and cultural practices na unique in our communities, ibida natin yan. So marami pa tayong mga magaganap na mga webinars or mga conferences in asset incorporation. So, unahan ko na si President Dr. Cristobal na talagang this is an avenue for us na ibida din ang ating mga communities in different places, no? That is part of our concerns kasi traditions and treasures. So maraming treasures dito sa Pilipinas, no? Kahit sa food, maraming masasarap na pagkain, literatures, mga rituals and songs. May mga dances also na I happen to escort a friend na pinag-aaralan yung dance of Manobo. Hindi ka pupunta doon para lang magpa-practice ka or mag-ask ng somebody para magpa-practice. Actually, every step has a meaning. At bago kami nag-aral ng na yon, doon, pumunta ng community, may mga rituals pa kami, nagdala pa kami ng isang baboy para mag-conduct muna ng ritual, mag-ask sa diwata kung i-allow ba. So yung may mga mga practices at napaka-interesting, no, ng mga happenings na to, no, mga local history na to in our areas or in our communities, no. We can also study about distinguished local leaders, mga notable outstanding local scholars, scientists, historians, and athletes in our place. So, ibibida natin yan sila sa mga klase natin, mga notable na mga tao sa ating lugar. Hindi pwede na palagi na lang yung mga nandun sa nandun sa NCR na mga tao kasi mga artista. So, we can also make patronize our local talents in our place. In fact, in our area, no, sa Kantilan, there was a time na parang they promote local talents kasi masyadong mahal yung mga artista. Hindi naman ako against sa ng mga artista, but sana suportahan yung mga local talents. So instead na nag-invite ng maraming artista na ang mahal-mahal, minsan nagkukost ng millions yun. Our municipality also give budget sa local talents. And doon namin na-discover na ang gagaling din ng mga local talents. Yung variety show na ginawa ng mga estudyante namin from schools, from the different schools, madami kaming nalaman na okay, singer, magagaling din na singer. So these are interesting things, no, na pwedeng nating ma-explore in our own communities. Landmarks such as buildings, parks, restaurants, or businesses, no? So mga landmarks madami din dito or even in your places, no? Kaya kami talagang nag-ask kami na sana makabisit kami sa mga local o mga even in your Luneta kasi iba-iba tayo ng mga styles ng kung anong nasa Luneta, mga landmarks natin. Even in our place as well. May mga notable na mga tao talaga na may mga monuments din in our areas na dito lang sa Surigao del Sur. And other agenda that made your local community proud. So see, there's a lot of things that we can discover in our own community. Let's promote it. It is our responsibility. Okay? Parang identity natin yun. Kahit anong gawin mo sa sarili mo, kahit pumunta ka pa ng ibang lugar, ibang bansa, you are your identity as a Filipino. Ako as a Kantilang nun or as Surigao nun. So ako lang ang makakapag-promote is sa sarili kong lugar. Walang ibang may responsibilidad nun. Kami dito lang sa Surigao del Sur. The same in your own community. So very effective ang teaching ng history ng social science courses if we always integrate local events, local happenings, local history into our class. So yan po yung napaka-importante na dapat ma-integrate sa pedagogy natin in teaching social science or history courses. So finally, so of course, I just want to share this statement that the purpose of education is not to fit the individual in a place in society but to enable him to make his own place. So bawat isa sa atin, okay, meron talagang unique na kapasidad or capacity skills na pwedeng may offer sa community natin. So a community will never be complete without you. So yun po, no, I hope that may naibahagi ako na konti in my expertise, so no. So and I also look forward to listen on different also mga challenges or mga academic experiences in your schools and universities as well. Thank you. Maraming salamat.
Ayan.
Hello.
Yeah, nakamute pala po ako, nag-straight na po ako dito. Anyway, medyo tagalan lang po ako mag-respond kasi nagno-note din po ako ng mga tinuro po ninyo. Indeed, no, I think one of my takeaway din po dito, earlier we were discussing on the perspective of learning history. This time, it is also our duties and responsibility to share it as well. But how can we do that? Ayan, yung diniscuss po ninyo. So, napaka-meaty po ng discussion po ninyo. Actually, medyo punong-puno po yung notes po. But at this point, of course, aside from my key takeaways and my reaction, we would also hear a reaction coming from one of our very own asset officers. So, may we have our asset treasurer, and at the same time, the current chairperson of the Bachelor of Arts in Political Science at Don Mariano Marcos Memorial State University, Mid La Union Campus, to provide her reactions and key takeaways with a talk provided by Dr. Plaza. So let's give a virtual clap to Dr. Dulce M. Rodriguez. Ma'am.
Ma'am Dulce, naka-mute po naka-mute yata po kayo, Ma'am Dulce.
All right, one moment, please. Let me just actually go over Miss Dulce's screen to unmute her po. Ayan. While waiting for Dr. Dulce, you may actually raise your questions now through our Q&A box and at the same time through our chat box, and then we'll actually ask Dr. Plaza later on to answer your queries. Ayan. Yeah, so yeah, while waiting for Dr. Dulce, ayan po, so natutuhan po natin, no, so this is not only for the social science educators, at the same time to our education majors, no, this is also for everyone participating in this virtual meeting for this discussion, that before we talk about the national historical narratives, the national historical context or stories, it's also better that we go over our local context. Ayan. Um, mhm. One moment, please. Let's just try to go over some of our technicalities because we are having some technical difficulties at the moment. While waiting for that, we encourage everyone now to provide their comments, insights, and their questions to our speaker. And I think Ma'am Dulce is already on a microphone. May we hear from Ma'am Dulce po? If okay na po? Ah, yeah, we can still hear Ma'am Dulce po. There's no audio po, Ma'am. Oo, oh, wait lang po. Yeah, sorry mo for that. I think we were having some technical glitch earlier, but I was able to actually hear some of the points you provided by Dr. Dulce, and I resonate with them. And just actually an addendum to that, and as a reflection also to earlier discussion, it's very important for us teachers to actually make the learning experiences of our students worthwhile. Practically, there are some stereotypes about history. So sabi nga, it's on our shoulders now kung paano natin gagawing interesting po ang pag-aaral ng history. Alright? So at this, thank you so much, Dr. Dulce, for that. For sharing your reactions and for giving us also your insights regarding the talk. Okay, at this point, I think there are some. Um, one moment, please. Okay. I think there are some questions coming from our chat box. So, Dr. Plaza, are you still there? Are you still with us?
Yes, sure can. Hello, everyone. So yes, I am ready to to answer some of these questions. No, I can
All
share
right.
also.
So we go first, sir, with the questions provided in our Q&A box. Okay, so let me just go over the first questions. Okay. Okay, I think there's an interesting question here, sir. Dr. Plaza, what is the difference between a historian and a marites daw po? From an anonymous attendee.
So sabi ko kanina, no, busog tayo ng kaalaman sa context of historiography. So definitely, no, pag marites yan, there's no sources. No, there's no credible sources. Wala siyang mga data, wala siyang facts, no? So yun yung marites, no? If you don't have data or facts. And then of course, if you also give informations, then what is your purpose? Anong purpose mo? Okay? So the historian is the opposite, no? May credible and reliable na resources. Okay, my facts, my data, and definitely my purpose kung bakit niya pinag-aralan yung context na yan sa kasaysayan. So simply as that. Thank you, Sir Ken. That's the difference between a marites and an historian.
Yes, well, thank you so much for that one po. I think this is now for us teachers, no, sir. Do you think AI daw po poses a threat to the independence and literacy of our youth? Should we ban or abolish the use of AI in the name of authenticity and education?
So, nakakaano naman yung should be banned. Unfortunately, we cannot do that anymore. So, in fact, no, we do not encourage na maging skeptical tayo sa mga technology, sa modernity, sa 21st generation. These are blessings. Sa technology that we have are blessing. No? So, only that, lahat ng bagay, meron talagang advantages and disadvantages. So, we have seen the advantages of this technology, particularly AI. Kaya nga, ini-encourage din natin yung AI literacy, no? Para hindi din tayo mahuli. Kung hindi tayo natututo, huling-huli tayo sa panahon. I cannot accept that, no, na mahuli tayo, mga social science educators. No. So the thing is, we are also aware of the threat of this technology. So now it is time for us to regulate it. So that's what we can do, to regulate the use of technology, to always advise our students. So as of this time, wala pa tayong masyadong policy. So of course, for sure, our education system, our legislatures are also looking for that solution and regulating these things. No, once we regulate it, then we can avoid to be addictive with the AI, no? So we cannot be dependent always on the technology that we have. We cannot allow also that AI will replace us, no? Lalong-lalo na sa social science educators. I will say that would be impossible pag mag-extra effort din tayo. So it's not a threat, okay? So the thing is, we will just regulate it as much as possible. We are human. we are more capable than these robots or artificial intelligences. So let's not be very skeptical on that. We know that time will also tell us how to manage it. So hopefully na along this time, no, palagi lahat tayo nagko-cooperate in by having the asset incorporation of the Philippines. Malayo yang mangyari kasi meron na tayong organization that could unite to combat that threat in the academy. Okay, thank you, Sir Ken. So yun yung
Thank you so much, Dr. Blas, for that. I am very proud as well to being part of this organization, this asset. And I think one also of the things that we need to highlight is commonly, this is a wrong notion. When we talk about AI in education platform or education sector, it's always synonymous to ChatGPT. We have to take note that ChatGPT is just one of the many artificial intelligences that we have in this world. And in the context of contemporary world, these are actually emerging technologies that we have to embrace rather than to actually go against kasi this is actually a developing culture in education. And at the same time, sabi nga ni Dr. Plaza kanina, iba pa rin pag yung mismong tao nakararanas ng education, particularly in history and culture, di ba? Iba yung feeling ng virtual reality than going through the caves, going through the archives, seeing the actual monument to feel yung talagang nostalgia ng place na yun. So yan, thank you so much po. Another one, go muna tayo dito sa question, sa Q&A po. Ito, another one, sir, again, for the teaching, the pedagogy. How do you handle teaching history that might be sensitive to certain students' background? Siguro they're pertaining to the IPs and of course other topics that might be sensitive to others as well.
okay. So that is part of our role, no? So to promote cultural sensitivity. So that is embedded in social science education, no? So talagang we have to be careful. And we can only avoid this whenever we are also aware of their practices, their traditions, no? So we will not be naive. That is why we profile our students. No, sino ba itong mga like for example, baka nagsimula ka ng klase like for example dito sa amin, pero palang iba yung language. No, so hindi mo pwedeng i-neglect o i-ignore yung tao na hindi pa nakakaintindi ng Bisaya sa amin dito sa area. So that's just an really related case. No, so in that case, you have to accommodate that person na yun yung language niya. So kailangan ma-accommodate mo siya sa klase mo. So the same thing, kung may mga indigenous people or mga ITs students in our class, actually we are very sensitive to them, to their needs, no? So even the university has a policy on our IPs na mas may special policies nga para sa kanila talaga, embedded in our syllabus as well, no? So ibig sabihin, this is not just unique case to your community, to our community, but this is actually national concern. At since we are a country that has various cultures, traditions, no? So that's the reason why we are so diverse, no? So definitely, no, talagang embedded yan in our syllabus, in our of course in our class, yung mga practices natin sa klase natin. Even here in Mindanao, may mga Muslims kami. Do not tell me na ka dyan ng mga, like for example, if may mga party kami na ganito, and then we will be insensitive to them with the food that para sa kanila. So we need to profile, we need to know kung sino ba ang nasa klase mo. So that's one thing. No? We have to be sensitive all the time, cultural sensitive. So this is also related to the discussion of Professor Maslang kanina, no? In the sociological context as well. Thank you.
Yes, well, it's great that ours is being proactive rather. So we are being inclusive already in terms of discussions like this. Another one, sir, here, this is from our chat box already. So, sir, according to Kalibuso, I cannot see the complete name. Anyway, according to them, what strategies can communities use to effectively preserve local festivals in the face of modernization and globalization?
I am happy to share to you that our government is very supportive on some initiatives in really promoting our festivals or local histories, no? Like for example, because the government is very supportive in a sense that they are giving fund, no, sa mga cultural mapping, sa mga discovery or exploration of grassroots innovations. So itong grassroots innovations, yung mga initiatives ng mga indigenous na mga people on how they initiate or they discover or they invent something para kahit like for example wala silang refrigerator pero meron silang grassroots innovation na yun yung ginagawa nila. So kahit yung mga discovery na yun uh, pwede natin yung ma-uncover, no? In my strategy, no, so yun, historical research talaga, itong method na expeditionary learning where we ask them to analyze, to have a case study, to have a research projects, itong mga like for example even field trips if pwede naman dun sa mga communities natin. So ano ito? Okay, so these are very effective strategy, no, para ma-promote pa natin, ma-map natin, mas maunawaan by mapping, mas mauunawaan natin yung communities natin. So that those are efforts so that we can preserve our practices, our traditions in our areas, no? So and we're happy to say that the government is with us in this call or in this advocacy for social sciences, no? Thank you, Sir Ken.
Thank you so much for that. Likewise, also in La Union, if I may share din po, the provincial government has launched, this is actually on their third year already, the La Union Youth Ambassador for Traditions and Culture, or LUYTC. And then annually, they select one representative for the 19 municipalities in one city of La Union, and then from that they would actually conduct an encampment. They would go over now the traditions and cultures in La Union, and then they have their outputs, and then they're encouraging their representatives to come up with a project proposal that would be later on funded with the provincial government in relation now to cultural preservation. So yeah, these are very nice government efforts in relation to cultural education po. Thank you so much for that po. Another one, sir, when it comes daw po to teaching method, ano daw po ang mas effective? Pagiging strict or lenient?
Tinitest talaga tayo naman. Okay, depende yan. Okay, ako I always balance ako, no? So siguro strict in a sense that of course gusto ko ng maayos na output ng mga bata. I don't compromise. I don't compromise academic na performance. As much as possible, they really follow. Okay, especially like for example in historical researches na hindi pwede na hindi nagpo-follow ng mga ethical standards. So sasabihin na, sir naman, ang dami-daming gustong mga requirements. So sabi ko, hindi, because gusto ko yan. That is part of the journey. So ano yun? Pagiging strict or pagiging lenient. So something like that na, to the point naman na, of course, it's a professional relationship with my students. I have to tell them that we really have to follow it. I cannot allow to compromise it. No, bakit? Ano pang silbi ng pagtuturo natin sa mga academic institutions if that could be tolerated, no? So as much as possible, balance palagi. So sorry to say that there are times that we have to be strict, and yes, there are times that we are lenient. Depende sa panahon, depende sa sitwasyon. Okay, but definitely not to compromise academic integrity. So thank you, Sir Ken. That's my personal perspective.
Yes, so I resonate to that naman po. Of course, di ba, minsan na-adapt ko na rin po yung mga common phrases ng mga teacher na pinapagalitan namin kayo, na pagsasabihan namin kayo, not because we want to shame you or because we want to insult you, but this is actually our way of showing our love for academic integrity for that matter. So thank you so much for that one. At least, so, balance lang talaga dapat. Alright, I think this is the last one. Sir, according to, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Zoina John Patrice Orteza, sir, how can we foster the local community's identity and pride?
Okay. By integrating local history. So yes, that's part of my lecture, no? How can
Yes.
that's the one thing, no? We can be proud of our community when we know about our community. We cannot be proud of something that we don't know, no? So sinasabi ko palagi sa mga estudyante ko na, alam nyo, magiging maganda ang impression ng mga tao about our community, about our place, whenever ikaw mismo may magandang impression ka rin. And if you have also lots of knowledge about your community, about your own culture, and you will be, at kung marami tayong alam tungkol sa mga communities natin, lalabas yan. Lalong-lalo na kung nasa puso ang appreciations natin in our own community and identity. No? So lalabas yan, mag-e-echo yan. You can make echo by sharing it to others, to other communities, to other places. No, mag-e-echo palagi yan. And babalik tayo sa lugar natin palagi, no, when we talked about our identity, no? So that's it. Thank you, Sir Ken. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a restatement of what Dr. Plaza said earlier, that we cannot be proud of something that we don't know. Likewise, we cannot love something or someone that we don't know. Kaya nga doon sa tagline or doon sa slogan ng the Philippines, for example, the Department of Tourism, and then the localized one, I love the place, for example, I love La Union. You cannot really say that you love La Union without knowing what La Union is, di ba? Something like that. So it will always go down to, boil down to the idea that we have to study our local history so that we could be closer to our own roots, to our own identity. And that's something that we can foster our local community's identity and pride. I think there's no more questions. So sabi dito, amidst of group work culture of pabigat and pabuhat, how do sir, one last siguro po. I think this is something that we could also give light to our students. Ano mga may pa-group work daw si teacher. Amidst of group work culture of pabigat and pabuhat, how do we ensure everyone is enriched and does their work equally? Ayan.
Okay, in some group activities, you know what I'm doing with my class? Meron talaga akong consultative meeting with the group. Lalong-lalo na if the group, like for example, has 5 to 8 members, kasi as much as possible, nililimit ko sa ganong numbers. I always have time of consultation. At iniisa-isa ko yan sila. Oh, you, what is your contribution? Okay, do you think that the group will survive without you? So parang gano'n, no? Si isa-isa talaga, so personal na. Oh, so what can you say? Oh, how did you contribute in your group? So why do you think that you are important as part of the team? Oh, so ganun ka-personal. Kasi especially if research, like for example, if kahit ano lang, yung like for example recent activity ko when they did sa movie analysis. Okay, so movie analysis, of course they watch first the movie, then they analyze it, no, like sa Rizal na klasiko, then bawat isa mayroon talagang assignment. So meron akong consultative, no, pag during sa consultation madi-discover ko talaga kung anong rule ng bawat isa, no. So that's the reason why also na sana, no, hindi masyadong marami ang number of students in the class, kasi as in terms of feedbacking, so medyo challenging yun. Kasi yun din yung constraint nun. No, so that's the reason why in our university or even before in the DepEd we always try to really talk about the number of our students kasi definitely maaapektuhan kung masyadong marami lang yung ano sa klase. But of course, we are not losing hope on that concern, no? But in my case, when they in undergrad, okay lang naman sa graduate school kasi konti lang naman talaga yung mga in every section. But of course, dito sa undergrad, so meron talaga kaming campaign na mas manageable dapat yung number of students. But yun na nga, isa sa para ma-address during the group activities, consultations talaga. You have a personal contact or personal discussions with the group, okay, based on their activity. No, so meron akong ano talaga yan. Meron akong form na nag-aasa ko ng mga ganitong mga tanong in each of them. So, yun lang. Minsan, I sacrifice time. Kasi minsan, natatagalan talaga ako umuwi ng bahay because of those consultation sessions with my students, especially during their group activities. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Plaza. No, I think I can personally, I can benchmark that one so that we could really monitor our students. All right, I think that's it for our open forum. So at this juncture, we would like to express our sincerest appreciation to your support and your efforts of actually gracing these events and taking the challenge and our invitation to be our speaker for this afternoon. So allow me to read and award the certificate of appreciation to our speaker from the Association of Social Science Educators for Traditions and Treasures of the Philippines Incorporated, or Asset of the Philippines Incorporated, St. Louis College. Awards, there's this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Rafael Christopher O. Plaza for sharing his invaluable time and expertise as a speaker in the national webinar organized by the Asset of the Philippines Incorporated in collaboration with the Kusina ng Talinghaga and the Social Science Department of St. Louis College, with the theme Unearthing a Glorious Past, a rediscovery of the Philippine National Historical and Cultural Treasures, held on November 9 to 10, 2024. Given this 10th day of November 2024 via Zoom conference. Signed, Mr. Christopher F. Minas, MPA, Department Head of the Social Sciences, St. Louis College, La Union, and Dr. Joseph M. Cristobal, Asset President, St. Louis College, City of San Fernando, La Union. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give, and everyone in between, let's give a round of applause to Dr. Rafael Christopher O. Plaza. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Sir Ken. I just want to correct Sir Ken, Rael, hindi Rafael.
Okay. Dr. Rael Christopher O. Plaza. We'll take note of that, Doc Plaza. All right, sige po. Hopefully, we could see each other again on our succeeding webinars. Okay, so yan. That concludes now our very rich, very diverse, very meaty discussions on the various topics about our history. Okay, so at this point, okay, let's listen now to the closing remarks, okay, to be delivered by our very own Vice President for Luzon of the Asset of the Philippines Incorporated, Dr. Michelle J. Dulay. Ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is still alive. Okay, as we conclude our webinar this afternoon, okay, entitled Unearthing a Glorious Past, a Rediscovery of the Philippine National and Historical Treasures. I want to take a moment to reflect on the rich discussions that we've had today. So very meaty, and I really learned a lot. We really learned a lot, I'm sure. We have delved into the depths of our national history, uncovering not just facts, but the stories and legacies that shape our identity as a Filipinos. through the topics on using primary and historical sources, right? We explored various historical treasures that embody the resilience, creativity, and spirit of our nation, from the ancient artifacts to the modern narratives, which each piece tells us a story of struggle and triumph, reminding us of the vibrant tapestry that is our heritage through the topic of heritage and heroism. It is essential to recognize that these treasures are not merely relics of the past, but they are the beacons guiding us toward a more profound understanding of who we are and what we can achieve today. So I encourage each of you to continue this journey of discovery beyond today's discussion. Hindi lang tayo mag-stop dito ha. Okay, especially in the last discussion on pedagogical approaches in teaching and learning social sciences. Engage with your communities, that is in extension. Share what you've learned and inspire others to appreciate and protect our national treasures and our cultural heritage. As we move forward, let us commit to preserving these legacies for future generations, ensuring that they remain a source of pride and inspiration. In closing, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our speakers and participants for being here today. Your insights have enriched our understanding and appreciation of our shared history. Let us carry this momentum forward as we work together to unearth more stories from our glorious past. Special mention to the Asset Organization through our President Sir Joseph Cristobal for the lead, to St. Louis College of La Union, to the Kusina ng Talinhaga, to the Icon Review and Training Center for the partnership in conducting this webinar. To the regional and provincial coordinators for your assistance, to our energetic MCs, hosts for yesterday and today. Really, you made the day. Okay? Thank you all for joining us today. Let us continue to celebrate and honor our heritage as we build a brighter future for the Philippines. Thank you, and see you again to the succeeding webinars. Sabi ni MC Kenny. Thank you so much and good afternoon, everyone.
All right, so thank you so much, Dr. Michelle Dulay, for the closing remarks. Everyone, let's clap ourselves for actually making it and for being part of the success of this organization's webinar. Okay, lagit-lagi para sa Diyos, sa lupang hinirang, sa kalikasan at sa kabataang Pilipino. This has been your host, Kennedy Flores, saying, ingat kayo palagi and see you next time.